having these documents. Sasha Ingber reporting live from Washington. Thank you.
And a reminder that what you are seeing on your screen right now is only partial coverage of what we will be covering all day long. And we are also going to be watching the events that take place later tonight at Trump's National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, also bringing you those relevant portions tonight at 8 o'clock. The president expected to speak live to the crowd there. He is not expected to address the gathering outside the courthouse where we are looking at the scenes coming in from Miami. A reminder, as you are watching us here, you can always go to scripsnews.com, where we have posted the entire indictment, 49 pages in all. It is actually a very fascinating read, and you can also find more coverage at Scripps News on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on TikTok.
We are awaiting the start of President Trump's arraignment. Again, we do have a Scripps News producer inside the courthouse, and in a moment we'll be going to Bedminster Live, where President Trump is set to speak tonight, so something to keep an eye out for.
And in a moment, the legal perspective. We've been talking about it. It is a political situation. It is also a legal situation. How strong is the government's case against the former president? A special panel of guests on tap to join us next. This is Scripps News coverage of the arraignment of Donald John Trump, the former president of the United States.
Ahoy! Join Fox 13 for Family Fun Night at the Gallivan Center for a free night of fun under the sea. From a mermaid bounce house and face painting to a live pirate band, there's a whole sea of activities to explore. If the guppies get the munchies, there's delicious food for kids and parents alike. And see the Fox 13 Weather Beast and meet your favorite Fox 13 personalities. Come make a splash at the Gallivan Center. Thursday, June 22nd from 5 to 7. From Fox 13.
At Smith's, we want our fresh produce to meet your expectations, which is why we do up to a 27-point inspection to check for things like color and scarring. Because when it comes to fresh, higher standards mean fresher produce. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
Ram season is here, with the right trucks, for every purpose, every path, and every soul. Now's the season to be a Ram.
Right now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP or 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
When moderate to severe ulcerative colitis keeps flaring, put it in check with Rinvoq, a once-daily pill.
When UC got unpredictable, I got rapid symptom relief with Rinvoq and left bathroom urgency behind. Check.
When UC got in my way, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when my gastro saw damage,
Rinvoq helped visibly repair the colon lining. Check. Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and a chance to visibly repair the colon lining. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin cancer, death, heart attack, stroke, and tears in the stomach or intestines occurred. People 50 and older with at least one heart disease risk factor have higher risks. Don't take if allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Put UC in check and keep it there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastro about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie could help you save.
When you download the Smith's app, you have easy access to savings every day and get personalized coupons sent straight to your phone. Save big today when you download the Smith's app. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
When someone is injured through no fault of their own, Siegfried and Jensen will fight to get them the results they need. We've successfully handled tens of thousands of personal injury cases. We have the experience, knowledge, and resources needed to take on the insurance companies. And since 1990, we've recovered over $1.2 billion for our clients. If you've been injured, let us help you get the compensation you need and deserve. Call Siegfried and Jensen.
News.
Watching Scripps News' coverage of the arraignment of Donald J. Trump. In moments, he will enter a federal courtroom in Miami to hear the 37 federal counts against him.
All of this, of course, related to his handling of those secret documents, the indictment alleging that they were stored illegally in a ballroom and a bathroom and other locations at Mar-a-Lago. Mr. Trump Also allegedly heard on audio tape, showing off at least one of those documents.
Matt Cesney joins our coverage now. He is live with Trump supporters outside the federal courthouse in Miami. Matt, can you describe the scene at the courthouse right now? What's going on around you?
Yeah, I would tell you right now there are a lot of people out here mulling around. We're actually behind the courthouse on the west side of the courthouse, which is where the caravan of SUVs with Donald Trump arrived here today. So there are quite a number of people who have gathered all around the perimeter here on the back of the courthouse here, hoping that they could catch a glimpse of Donald Trump. But that did not happen because the vehicles went down into an underground sally port, a much more secure area where he could get out of the vehicle and enter the courthouse. And in fact, this is a very heavily guarded entrance right now with a lot of heavily armed police officers and Secret Service agents. Where I'm standing is actually something of a little pedestrian mall area, which offers a lot of shade, which I think is one of the two reasons a lot of people came here. A, hopefully to catch a glimpse of Donald Trump, but second, because it is pretty shady over here, and a lot of people have been walking around. They've got flags, they've got hats, like this fellow who came up from, where'd you come up from?
From Palm Beach Gardens, Willie Guardiola, pro-lifers for Trump.
And why did you want to come out here today?
What do you think? We got the best president we've ever had in 246 years. This is a travesty that's going on here. Amazing. I mean, a lot better than yesterday at the round. Thousands of people here today, media everywhere. I've talked to people from all over the country, so it's been great. But Channel 5 is #1.
All right, thanks, Willie. I appreciate it. So there are a lot of people mulling around. There's a coffee shop. There are places to eat. So this is like one of the relief places, I guess, where people have come. I'm going to keep spinning around because there's a lot more people gathered over here who have kind of all mixed in with the media, all looking to get a shot of the courthouse and try to wave flags and say hello to a lot of people. But I think, as that gentleman just told us, for the most part, from what we've seen, it has been fairly well behaved. It is very hot out here. I don't know if that kind of made people slow down a little bit. There's some signs. We see a lot of signs in Spanish out here. We see a lot of signs in English. There are also some people who are opposed to Donald Trump, like this gentleman over here, who's in a prison suit. I believe he has a lock 'em up sign. He's been quite visible throughout the day here, and for the most part, he says he's been yelled at, he's been harassed a little bit by people, but it's been nothing physical, just been loud at times. But for the most part, a pretty calm crowd. We're watching outside the back door where Donald Trump went in, and we'll probably try to catch a glimpse when he leaves as well. But we're in Miami. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Matt Cesney outside the federal courthouse in Miami in the shade. Thank you very much.
Lauren, in a few hours, the scene then shifts north to Bedminster, New Jersey. That is where the Trump National Golf Course is located. That is also where our White House correspondent Haley Bull is live. And Haley, all eyes will be on you this evening because the former president, we expect, will deliver his first remarks there this evening.
Del, that's exactly right. It will be a significant moment because it will be the first time we publicly hear from the former president following his arraignment in Miami. Now, to date, he has called this indictment reckless. He has called it baseless. He has called it a, quote, witch hunt, repeating some of those phrases on social media heading into this afternoon. And I think it's reasonable to expect we will hear something along the same lines of that tonight. Keep in mind, the former president is navigating his role now as a candidate, but also now as a federal defendant. And since this indictment has been unsealed, we have heard him criticize the Biden administration, the Justice Department, and the special counsel, really trying to frame this as what he called a, quote, political hit job with 2024 in the background of this. During his remarks in Georgia over the weekend, we saw him try to draw a contrast between the Trump administration and the current Biden administration, both politically, both when it comes to policy and unclassified document investigations. Of course, Biden faces his own investigation, but the big difference there being that his counsel voluntarily turned over documents. But despite the legal woes he's facing, keep in mind, Trump has still solidly led in the polls against his Republican challengers. You heard Andrew get into that, and that is something we have have heard him take note of during his remarks, and I expect that could be the case tonight. But at the same time, you have heard some of these Republican challengers like Chris Christie, Nikki Haley get very more pointed in their criticisms of Trump. But while his remarks will be here at Bedminster, it's where he typically summers. So he will head from Miami here to his golf club in Bedminster. He'll give the remarks, and he's also expected to hold a fundraiser this evening. Keep in mind, since this indictment became unsealed, since news broke of it, the Trump campaign has certainly worked to raise money in the wake of it.
That is our White House correspondent, Haley Bull, who is live, part of our team coverage. She is in Bedminster, New Jersey. Haley, thank you very much.
All right, I think it's time to introduce some new voices here, Del.
I think so.
People you'll want to hear from. Michael Zeldin worked in the criminal division at the Department of Justice. Renato Mariotti is a former federal prosecutor with a wide range of experience. And Lindsay Chervinsky is a presidential historian teaching at George Washington University. Thanks for joining all.
And she would say the George Washington University, as they like to say in Foggy Bottom. Michael, let's start with you. What went into the decision to charge a former president, and specifically venue? All of this could have been happening in Washington, D.C. Prosecutors decided on Florida, saying that is where venue was. One question I keep being asked over and over again is, didn't the archives have standing? They are located in the jurisdiction of Washington, D.C.
Sure. This case could have been brought in both jurisdictions, D.C. and Florida, but most of the acts charged in the indictment took place in Florida. And so rather than entertain a venue fight with Trump's defense attorneys, the prosecutors felt the strength of their case was enough that they could take this case to Trump's home court advantage jurisdiction and still prevail. So it was a tactical decision. We'll see whether it's the right one.
Michael, I was reading the indictment again, as we informed our audience, 49 pages. It's very, very interesting reading. But one of the things that stands out in the indictment is the fact that they are using the former president's words against him. We're all familiar with the chant during the 2016 presidential election, "Lock her up." But also part of that lock her up narrative was the fact that he was saying that she mishandled classified information with regards to her emails. Some Republicans, like the Speaker of the House, are saying that why not charge her? So if she wasn't charged, why is he charged?
So let me read to you from FBI Director Comey's statement on the non-prosecution decision in the Clinton case. He says, quote, "In looking back at our investigations into mishandling or removal of classified documents, we cannot find a case that would support bringing charges on these facts. All of the cases prosecuted involved some combination of clearly intentional and willful mishandling of classified documents, vast quantities of materials exposed in such a way as to support an inference of intentional conduct, and efforts to obstruct justice. We do not see any of those things here. Of course, all of those things are present in the Trump case. So to try to say that the Hillary Clinton case and the Trump case are comparable is just not true as a matter of fact, and not true as a matter of prosecutorial history in these sorts of cases.
Okay, former DOJ official Michael Zeldin again. Renato, I want to call on you, plain and simple. How ironclad is this case?
Well, it's a very strong case. It's the sort of case that if it was a case against John Doe and he came to me and he told me, what should I do? What's my best strategy? I would tell him delay or plead guilty are your best strategies. Very, very challenging. The strength of the evidence is significant. That said, Donald John Trump is not John Doe. He's a former president. He has a very significant following. The judge in this case is shown herself, I think, to be very favorably inclined to him. She has a lot of tools at her disposal that she can use to try to help him get an advantage in this case. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that there's plenty of potential jurors out there who are going to feel very strongly about former President Trump. So he has some advantages that a typical defendant wouldn't have. And so, you know, despite the fact that the evidence is very strong and it's, you know, it's laid out in a lot of detail in that indictment, nonetheless, Jack Smith and his team can't be overconfident, and they have a challenging road ahead.
Well, as you mentioned the evidence, I wanted to ask you, what is the significance of having tapes of Trump's comments? Because as you read it, you're able to read verbatim what was said.
Yeah, there's a very important exchange that was taped in which Trump essentially admits to multiple crimes in that tape. He says, for example, that he has a document, that it's a secret document. He talks a little bit about the document, and he says he could have declassified it when he was president, but he didn't do so. So it remains classified, and he can't share it with you. But then he goes on to talk a little bit about that document. There, he undercuts any defense he had that the information was declassified. He's admitting that he has information that's classified, that's secret, and he's sharing it with others. Very problematic. So, you know, the power of those statements, they can and will be used against him at trial, is that not only do they undercut some defenses that he has, but they're affirmatively show that he had and knew that he possessed classified information, and that he was willing to share that information with others, which is an aggravating factor. It's one of the factors that prosecutors look at when they're considering whether to bring these cases, whether or not there was an intentional distribution of that information to another person.
All right, former federal prosecutor Renato Mariotti, thank you very much.
We are also following the developments taking place inside the courthouse. Just moments ago, we found out that the former president has now been booked, fingerprinted, no mugshot, as I believe our correspondent on the ground said that it would be. We also want to go to Linda Stravinsky. She is our historian. Linda, thanks for being with us. I am a archivist nerd, so when I say the George Washington University, it's because a lot of the records that nerds like me want to look at are on archives that are contained by George Washington University. So many people say this case closely resembles Richard Nixon and Watergate. Isn't a more accurate comparison Spiro Agnew, who also faced a multi-count indictment and openly criticized and in fact declared war on the prosecutors and the Justice Department?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent comparison. One of the big differences, of course, with the Nixon case is that Nixon ultimately decided to stand down and to accept a pardon in return for an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. That is what a pardon requires, is that you acknowledge that you have in some way acted incorrectly. Whereas you're right, Spiro Agnew really went after the prosecution. He went after the federal government. He went after the case. He refused to acknowledge his culpability. And so I think that is a good comparison and worth thinking about, that this is not the first time that a federal official has been charged with very serious crimes, even if it is the first time we've seen a president charged in this way.
Lindsay, I don't want to let the moment go by without getting your take on this. A former president of the United States now booked on 37 federal counts inside a federal courthouse in Miami. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a sad day for the nation that we are in such a place that a federal official like the president, which of course is the most powerful office in the country, has evidence against him that would bring forth this type of indictment. And so that the solemnity of that moment really can't be overlooked. However, I think putting this in a global context is a really good reminder for us that other democracies have held their leaders accountable. They have survived. And I would argue it's made their democracies stronger in the long term, because it demonstrates that no one person, including the president, is ever above the law. And that's really what a democracy is supposed to be, a nation of laws.
Presidential historian Lindsay Stravinsky, all of you stay with us as we are awaiting the start and actually the arraignment itself. Once again, we are getting word that he has been booked and fingerprinted. Once again, not necessarily a booking photograph, because he is quite well known. We do have a producer inside the courthouse who is watching all of these events unfold.
And we'll get a check outside the courthouse after the break.
If you...
Sizzling summer savings are happening right now at Ashley. Pay 0% interest for 5 years, no minimum purchase. And score even more deals that are too hot to handle during the 72-hour summer event. Happening in-store only June 17th through 19th. Only at Ashley.
I remember when you get a whole meal for $5.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
Oh.
And every Tuesday at A&W, where single Papa Burger combos complete with fries and a root beer cost just $5. The good old days are here again. A complete meal for just $5. Tuesdays only at A&W.
Introducing Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. The same people you know and trust, providing Utah with the same great service you've counted on for more than 45 years. We're even throwing in a great offer for you. Say yes and beat the summer heat with our $49 tune-up special. For all your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs, you can always count on Yes. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment.
This summer is the perfect time to join the Jeep community, where you can overcome more obstacles, bring the sun along for every ride, and electrify every adventure by going even further. Make this the summer you go anywhere and do anything. Make this the summer of Jeep.
During Jeep 4x4 season, well-qualified returning FCA lessees can lease the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited for $369 a month. Visit Jeep.com for details.
It's almost time for the state's largest outdoor dinner party, Savor the Summit. If you're looking for fresh air, live music, lively conversation, and fabulous food, pull up a chair and join us at the Grand Table June 24th on historic Main Street in Park City. Choose from nearly 24 award-winning restaurants offering their own seasonally inspired menus to enjoy. Make your reservations now for Savor the Summit. For more information, visit historicparkcityutah.com/events.
KFC's Wednesday Country Fried Steak Meal is a delicious value, complete with mashed potatoes with gravy, coleslaw, and a biscuit, all for the incredible price of just $5.99. Really, what's left to say? How about see you again next Wednesday? Country Fried Steak Meal just $5.99, only at KFC.
Right now at Ashley. Pay 0% interest for 5 years with no minimum purchase. Ashley Sleep Align mattresses start at $999.99. And for a limited time, when you add an Align adjustable base to your purchase, you can save 10% on the set. Only at Ashley.
If you were just in a car crash, the insurance company could already be calling you. Don't talk to them, talk to us. The call is free, and getting a lawyer could mean the difference between going into debt or getting the settlement you deserve. Don't leave money on the table. Pick up the phone and call us right now. Call Esquire Law, 800-830-4144. 800-830-4144.
You are watching Scripps News live coverage of the arraignment of Donald J. Trump.
About 30 minutes ago, he arrived at the courthouse, and we have team coverage taking us through this important day. National political correspondent Alex Miller and Michael Williams with Scripps News West Palm Beach are outside the federal courthouse.
So let's go right now to Alex Miller. Alex, we'll start with you. One of the questions going in involved who would be representing the former president of the United States. In fact, he was searching for lawyers even as the day began. Has the lawyer dilemma been resolved?
It seems to have been resolved, at least for right now. Yesterday, Todd Blanche, who's one of the president's attorneys in his cases in New York, was told that he could not practice because he was not admitted to the bar in the Southern District of Florida. And so essentially, he was going to have to find new representation. And this has really been a difficult thing for the former president, to find a team here in Florida, and really in most of his cases, to back him up and to be representing him in this trial. Now it looks like Todd Blanche's application to be part of the Florida bar, at least in some capacity, has been granted. So not only will he be there, but he's also retained another lawyer named Christopher Michael Keese. He is a locally practicing lawyer who says that in his private firm, he represents big companies, politicians, and he works mostly in white-collar crime, which is essentially what this might amount to being. But he has a history in politics. Not only did he unsuccessfully run for Senate, but he also has worked
for a number of governors. Charlie Crist, he was his Solicitor General, which is the top lawyer there, argued numerous cases before not only the United States Supreme Court, but the Florida Supreme Court, and he was also a member of the transition teams for both Governor Rick Scott and Governor Ron DeSantis when it was their turn to become governor here in Florida. So he does seem to have a full team, at least what he needs when he goes into the courtroom today. But what happens after today is really what we're going to need to be paying attention to, Del, because he had a whole different legal team just last week as these charges were unsealed. There were people, lawyers on his team talking on multiple networks about these indictments, and then as soon as they were unsealed, they were off the team. And so this is really a changing process, but at least so far for today, it seems all systems are a go for his legal team.
Alex, briefly before we let you go, describe what we can hear but we can't see. We hear the horns. I'm assuming that someone has a sign that says honk if you love Donald Trump or honk if you hate Donald Trump. Is that the sounds that we're hearing?
Yes, I would say for the most part, it's honk if you love Donald Trump around here. There are definitely some protesters here against the former president, but I would say the vast majority of people here are supportive of him. Look, this is a state that voted for the former president. It has been a red state for quite some time now, and they are out here supporting him. There are people with signs, with flags. There's a lot of chanting of "We love Trump," but it has been peaceful, at least so far.
Keyword being peaceful. Alex Miller for us live at the courthouse in Miami. Alex, thank you very much.
And I just have to add, as someone who grew up in Miami, Florida, that honking, Del, is a sign of excitement. I'll tell you, any exciting event, you'll hear the honking and pots and pans. But speaking of someone who is in Florida, living and working in Florida, Michael, how do you think the events of today affect Trump's standing in the state?
Well, let's put it this way, and by the way, as you look at the scene behind me, protesters gathered just down the way, several hundred of them, very raucous on this humid day. All variety, unfortunately for all of us fans, but they're out in force and several hundred media attendants here as well. Peaceful this day. As far as how it affects his standing, consider this. Right after the indictment, he went immediately to fundraising. Trump supporters say these indictments, I'm talking about the one in New York, the one here, and others that he may face, are only serving to enhance and increase his base. Keep this in mind. Donald Trump, the candidate, 2016, he wins the state of Florida. Now, he lost Miami-Dade County to Hillary Clinton by about 30 points, but he wins the state. 2020, he turns Florida red again. He loses Miami-Dade County, but by about 9 points, so down to single digits to Joe Biden. And it's been reliably Democratic. Has a base in Florida that is growing. Lawyers are going to look at that. They think they'll have an easier time, relatively speaking, if it comes to the point where they're picking a jury. Find people give a good long listen to what Donald Trump's defense team has to say. In fact, they've been very candid. They think they have a better chance with that, with his standing in Florida politically, the fact that he's now a resident here, a better chance here than they would have had the indictment come, say, Washington, D.C. So his standing strong. What happens down the road legally, politically, that's a landscape that will be navigated by all of us as we watch it and as he deals with it in the months to come. Back to you.
We shall see. Michael Williams, thank you very much.
Let's go to our political director, Andrew Rafferty. Andrew, I can remember a white chalkboard that said Florida, Florida, Florida. It looks like once again we are saying Florida, 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 but only for a different reason this time. So let's discuss his standing among Republicans. The event in 2024 still a long way off, even though it seems like it is tomorrow. How will the events that we are seeing unfolding right now in Florida affect the candidate, Donald Trump, 1 year from now?
Well, we've been looking at polling and public opinion over the past weeks since news of this indictment came down, and one of the most recent that was out this morning from Morning Consult shows Donald Trump polling among Republicans actually improved 4 points over where he was last week. And so, look, Donald Trump has said pretty clearly, he told us to reporters ahead of those rallies that he held this weekend, that he doesn't want to be indicted. And he was already leading the Republican primary field. He doesn't need 4 more points. He was pretty handily in charge. And so I think it is also important, Del and Lauren, when you're talking about how this is helping him politically, to remember that it's very possible that this is something that helps him politically only in the short term, i.e. through the Republican primary, because although he has seen a bump not only after what we're seeing here in Florida, but also in New York, there are a lot of voters who are not going to be voting in the Republican primary, who are going to be voting in November of 2024, who have some grave concerns. And that doesn't mean that they are necessarily in favor of indicting Donald Trump, but it does mean that it could be a factor if he did in fact put national security somehow in danger. That's going to be on the minds of those independent voters, Del.
Andrew Rafferty for us. Thank you very much, Andrew. You know, and Lauren, as we were watching those images coming out of the courthouse just moments ago, I was struck by the fact that you had the lock him up signs right next to the pro-Trump signs, and the fact that they are doing what they're supposed to do in a democracy, which is protest peacefully.
Peacefully, keyword there. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're about 18 minutes out from that arraignment beginning.
Yeah, in just a few minutes, we will dig into the specific charges that the former president is facing. Stay with us.
I was having problems. You know that feeling? You go to turn your air conditioner on for the first time this year and it doesn't work? And you think, wasn't there a commercial that said I should get an AC tune-up before it gets hot? And now it is actually hot? And the kids are saying, Dad, wasn't there a commercial that said you should get an AC tune-up before it gets hot? Whipple that away. Making sure your AC is ready for summer before it gets hot is my job. Make your problem my problem. Whipple Service Champions.
You're known as the one who can do it all. Until a distracted driver ran a red light. Now, your attorney matters. Having an experienced firm can lead to higher settlements, which can help you get back to being you faster. RobertDeBry.com.
At Smith's, we want our fresh produce to meet your expectations, which is why we do up to a 27-point inspection to check for things like color and scarring. Because when it comes to fresh, higher standards mean fresher produce. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
If you're looking for the best way to buy a pre-owned Honda, look no further than Honda True. You get less to worry about and more benefits. Choose from 3 different tiers with up to 10 model years of Honda vehicles. Inspected by a Honda-trained technician. Discover why Honda True means less compromise and more of what you love about Honda.
Happy Take and Bake Tuesday!
Every Tuesday at Papa Murphy's, you can get any large pizza for just $12, which makes Tuesday the best day to bring home all your favorites.
We might have too many favorites.
Order now at papamurphys.com.
A lot of broken springs. Springs break all the time. It's gonna happen. Garage doors always break at the absolute worst time.
And at Precision, we're prepared.
Garage doors, that's all we do.
We can fix a broken spring the same day and get you on your way.
Precision Door Service, a name you can trust.
Ram season is here with the right trucks for every purpose, every path, and every soul. Now's the season to be a Ram.
Right now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP or 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
When you download the Smith's app, you have easy access to savings every day and get personalized coupons sent straight to your phone. Save big today when you download the Smith's app. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
A river is complex. It takes years of studying its intricacies to tailor one's craft to perfection. Selecting a personal injury law firm with the right experience can lead to higher settlements, which help you get back to being you faster. Now your attorney matters. RobertDeBry.com.
Welcome back. You're watching Scripps News' coverage of the arraignment of Donald J. Trump.
We have team coverage of this very historic day. Michael Zeldin worked in the criminal division at the Justice Department. Renato Mariotti is a former federal prosecutor with a wide range of experience. Lindsay Chervinsky is a presidential historian teaching at George Washington University. Michael, let's start with you this time. So much attention is being focused on the judge. Is it possible, and I'm hearing this, that when all is said and done and defense attorneys move for a judgment of acquittal, she can do so, no questions asked?
Well, she has to do so consistent with the law. She can't just do it willy-nilly for political reasons. And I think that if she stays on the case, and frankly, were I Judge Cannon, I think I would ask to be recused from this case voluntarily. But were she to stay on this case, I think she knows that she's going to be under the microscope and that her decisions are going to have to be very well thought out and justified. She does not want to be reversed as stingingly as she was by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in her last go-around with these documents. So I don't think she would do that unless the evidence is such, a terrible case that it is required to be done. So yes, theoretically, no, practically.
Michael, we know what the politicians are saying about the strength of this case, but I talked to a legal expert yesterday who said, had this been anyone other than a former president of the United States, they would be in leg irons and shackles already. Is the case that the government has, is it that strong?
Well, it's strong, but like every case, it all depends on how the testimony comes in. Personally, I think the obstruction charges and the false statement charges at the end of the indictment are the strongest, assuming Attorney Evan Corcoran is able to testify that he's not been excluded somehow by the trial judge. I think that the possession of the documents, remember, he's charged with mere retention, not willfulness, I forget the word. Anyway, he's just charged with willful retention. And I think he can say that he thought all along in good conscience that he was entitled to these documents, thereby creating a defense of no criminal intent. So I don't think he really can sustain that, but at least that's an arguable defense. He has a much harder time defending the obstruction and the false statements.
We know he is going to be using the Presidential Records Act, even though it does not apply. That will be one thing that they will try to argue. Former DOJ official Michael Zeldin. Michael, stand by.
Yeah. Lindsay, I want to go to you. Zooming out here for a little bit, what makes Trump different from other presidents in our nation's history?
Well, so much of our political system is really crafted on norms and precedents and cultural expectations. If we look at Article 2 of the Constitution, and then even all of the subsequent statutes and other laws that govern executive behavior, there's still a lot that's not written down and is really based on this system of we expect presidents to act a certain way. We expect presidents to talk a certain way. We expect presidents to comport themselves to a certain standard of decorum. And what I think has been so different and remarkable in some ways about former President Trump is that he just showed a real disregard for all of those precedents and norms. Everything from insulting the press and accusing the media of being an enemy. Now, Richard Nixon did do that to a certain extent, but generally presidents acknowledge that the press and the media is an important part of a democratic society, to doing things like posing with a certain can of beans in the Oval Office. That's not against the law. It's just not something we expect presidents to do. And so I think so much of President Trump's behavior is just beyond our wildest expectation. And sometimes we really struggle to wrap our minds around how to respond to it.
Presidential historian Lindsay Chervinsky, thank you.
Renato Mariotti, a question for you. How significant is it that a former president is in a courtroom right now facing felony espionage charges, or charges under the Espionage Act? Is this what it was intended? Because we can already hear Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, Trump supporter, though, saying he's not a spy.
Well, he's definitely not alleged to be a spy. These are not espionage charges. That's an important distinction that you made. These are charges under the Espionage Act. And like many federal laws that have big names or broad names, they cover a whole variety of different things. This is an old law that was enacted long ago, before our modern classification system was in place. So it doesn't even talk about classified documents. It talks about national defense information. And it really criminalizes a variety of different types of behavior. One of the charges, as Michael mentioned a moment ago, is the willful retention of national defense information. So what that means is not that you inadvertently had it mixed in with your boxes, not that you had 10,000 emails, and one of them happened to be classified, inadvertently was included in with the unclassified emails. It has to be that you actually knew you had the classified material, or in this case, national defense information, and you willfully retained it. In other words, you kept it even though you know you weren't supposed to. That's what the former president is charged with. And I think that's an appropriate charge. It fits the facts of this case, because the facts of this case are that the government desperately wanted these documents back. They did everything possible to get their hands on these documents. They not only wrote letters but they sent a subpoena. There was a personal visit by the Justice Department. Ultimately, they had to seize them from him via a search warrant. So I think it's very understandable why he's being charged with the willful retention of national defense information.
I think that is the thing, Renato, when you read the indictment that leaps out at you, which is the number of times federal authorities, beginning with the archives, simply asked for the documents, and yet the documents were not returned. Renato, stand by as well.
And all of you, in fact, stay with us. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Do you spend hours maintaining?
Fox Wednesday.
There's still one region to go. The South.
It's all new MasterChef.
The South is everything to me.
You're like a perfectionist. You ever make a mistake?
Not today, I didn't know.
I have nothing to say.
I've never heard that in 14 years.
Then,
Run a delivery-only restaurant.
Food Stars is all new, and Gordon enlists some expert help.
What you thinking?
It's average. It's not great.
This should have been the hero shot.
You're wrong. We all had no leader.
We are done.
Wednesday beginning at 7 on Fox 13.
If you were just in a car crash, the insurance company could already be calling you. Don't talk to them, talk to us. The call is free, and getting a lawyer could mean the difference between going into debt or getting the settlement you deserve. Call Esquire Law.
I remember when you get a whole meal for $5.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
Oh.
And every Tuesday at A&W, where single Papa Burger combos complete with fries and a root beer cost just $5. The good old days are here again. A complete meal for just $5. Tuesdays only at A&W.
Most garage doors definitely can be repaired. If I'm able to fix it, it's a lot easier for them, it's a lot cheaper for them. Here at Precision, we're not gonna sell you something you don't need. My goal is to do what's best for the customer. I like making people happy.
Precision Door Service, a name you can trust.
Ram season is here with the right trucks for every purpose, every path, and every soul. Now's the season to be a Ram.
Right now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP or 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
We all know that Mother Nature is hot and cold lately. But the inside of your house doesn't need to be. Pick your own climate with same-day heating and air, plumbing and electrical. The people who can in the big green van.
Shoo-wee, that is fast.
I'm telling you, these guys are pros. They made my glasses the same day.
The same day? Shoo-wee.
Oh, yeah. Other stores make you wait, but Eyeglass World makes their glasses right there in their same-day lab.
I'm at a loss for words.
How about shoo-wee?
Shoo-wee.
Get 2 pairs of glasses for $89 the same day at Eyeglass World, the world's best way to buy glasses.
KFC's Wednesday Country Fried Steak Meal is a delicious value, complete with mashed potatoes with gravy, coleslaw, and a biscuit, all for the incredible price of just $5.99. Really, what's left to say? How about see you again next Wednesday? Country Fried Steak Meal, just $5.99, only at KFC.
When people hear how much Esquire Law has gotten for their clients, their reactions are priceless.
Oh, yeah!
All right.
Cha-ching!
That's what I'm talking about.
Call Esquire Law, 800-830-4144.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live, continuing coverage, of the indictment of Donald J. Trump. White House correspondent Haley Bull joins us from the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. All right, Haley, let's talk about this as we move forward from here. What is happening at this point, and what can we look ahead to, as it's our understanding that he's going to be returning to that area?
Lauren, right now it appears the finishing touches are being made here at the golf club in New Jersey. You can see behind us, they're wrapping up the stage-like area where we expect the former president to speak and give his remarks. So right now, it's just a lot of behind-the-scenes logistical setup, but that will all change later on this evening, shortly after 8 p.m., when former President Donald Trump is expected to make his way from Miami up here to Bedminster to his golf club, where he will give his remarks. Now, this is where he typically spends his summer, and these remarks will be very significant. It will be the first time, most likely, that we publicly hear from him following his arraignment in Miami, and it also will be significant for him in setting the tone of his messaging, both as a candidate and now a federal defendant in this case. Now, we've gotten some hints about what his messaging may be through the remarks he's had both publicly and on social media leading up to this afternoon. He continues to call this a, quote, witch hunt, Warren.
Well, reporting from Bedminster, New Jersey. Folks, don't go anywhere. Our special coverage of the indictment of Donald J. Trump continues after a quick break. We're just a few minutes away from his arraignment beginning.
Craving Rock My World bold flavors only Taco Time can deliver? Congratulations! Crushing your craving just got easier. Taco Time, online and on demand. Dream delivered. You're welcome. When you know what you want, anytime.
This summer is the perfect time to join the Jeep community, where you can overcome more obstacles, bring the sun along for every ride, and electrify every adventure by going even further. Make this the summer you go anywhere and do anything. Make this the summer of Jeep.
During Jeep 4x4 season, well-qualified returning FCA lessees can lease the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited for $369 a month. Visit Jeep.com for details.
Hi, I'm BJ, owner of West Shore Home, and this summer I'm making bath remodeling stress-free with our 30-day guarantee.
Now, BJ, what do you mean by a 30-day guarantee?
So at West Shore Home, you know that we pride ourselves on that fast, easy, convenient remodeling experience. And I know people don't want to wait months to get their bath remodeled, so I'm doing something special. For anybody who signs up for their project by June 18th, we'll make sure the entire thing is done within 30 days or the entire project is free.
So from the time somebody chooses to move forward with their project to the time they have their new shower bath completely installed, you're saying 30 days, and if you don't meet that timeline, the complete project is free.
That's right. Just to claim this offer, all you have to do is call the number on the screen, and from there you'll talk to a representative that can schedule your free in-home design consultation. You get to pick the styles and options to design the bath of your dreams. And if you don't want to pay for the project right now, we have flexible financing options to fit any budget.
Wow, so if you need a new shower bath fast, now's the time to do it. Now, BJ, some people might be worried about cost. It's summer, budgets might be a little tighter right now. Some people might be waiting for just the right moment. So how can you help them?
Sure, I know money can be tight this time of year with summer vacations and other projects going on. So that's why I'm going to take off 50% of the cost of installation. Plus, if you call right now, I'll take an additional $1,000 off that shower bath remodeling project. But you got to call right now.
Those are some huge savings, BJ. Thank you so much. And that 30-day guarantee makes it really easy to start that project now. Folks, this is an offer you do not want to miss. West Shore Home's stress-free 30-day guarantee ends soon. Call the number on your screen to lock in this deal, and when you do, BJ is going to take 50% off the cost of installation, plus an additional $1,000 off your project. This offer ends on June 18th, so don't miss out. Get your new shower or bath by calling the experts at West Shore Home now.
Craving Rock My World bold flavors only Taco Time can deliver? Congratulations! Crushing your craving just got easier. Taco Time, online and on demand. Dream delivered. You're welcome. When you know what you want, anytime. 08.
Thank you so much for staying with us on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz, back with you here in Atlanta.
And I'm Del Walters. Welcome back to our special coverage of the indictment of Donald J. Trump. That arraignment now just minutes away. We found out just moments ago that he is inside. He has now been booked and fingerprinted, but we do not believe that he has a booking photo that was taken because, of course, he is one of the world's most famous and, in some cases, infamous figures.
That's right. They are talking about potentially a digital photo that will just be uploaded in this case. Now, we do have team coverage for you, and our team is going to be taking you through this very important day. National political correspondent Alex Miller is outside of the federal courthouse. Deputy Political Director Joe St. George is just above it. Our political director Andrew Rafferty is still live with us here in Atlanta.
Our national correspondent Alex Miller, as we pointed out, is outside the federal courthouse in Miami. So let's begin with Alex. And Alex, just moments ago we heard the horns, and I'm curious, what was the reaction? Has it trickled down where you are? What is going on inside the courthouse, or are they still waiting to hear from various media reports as to what's going on?
You know, it's a really good question because right now, there was a lot of confusion just a couple of minutes ago when the former president was arriving. There were people waiting outside the other side of the federal courthouse hoping to get a glimpse of him coming in. A lot of people missed it because he arrived pretty quickly, was ushered into a garage, and so there were a lot of questions around about whether he was even in the courtroom or not, in the courthouse rather, or not. So right now this is really a protest, a show of support of the former president. Right now, we have reporters inside, including our producer, Kellen Howell, but because cameras and cell phones and electronic devices are not allowed in the courtroom for these proceedings, the information is a slow drip of coming out of the courtroom right now. So people outside really just here to show their support for the former president, I think, rather than being here to get actual information.
Alex, going into today, it was predicted, it was estimated that we might see a gathering of anywhere between 500 to 5,000 people outside the courthouse. Crowd sizes are not exactly the purview of the media, but are you seeing crowds that you would describe, I guess, as small, medium, or large?
I would say not near the 5,000 mark. I would say we're probably closer to the 500 mark in that if I was guesstimating how many people were here. People have been moving around. I would say between 500 and 1,000 people here. There's definitely a lot of people here, lots of people driving by, just jumping in and out of cars to show their support. But again, it's been very peaceful for the most part. They shut down one street when there was a suspicious package, but by and large, I would say that this is, so far, knock on wood, has been a success for the police department, for the Department of Homeland Security, and for the mayor, who really came out yesterday and said, we are not shutting down streets unless we absolutely have to. And that's really what has happened here. And I suspect that because this is really a lopsided show of support for the former president, that's why this has not gotten angry very quickly.
Veronica, going in, I was concerned about the fact that they were not separating the pro-Trump and the anti-Trump crowd, and yet that appears to be the one thing that has held steady, which is that they have managed to coexist without any problems.
But to Alex's point, she was just saying that there are many pro-Trump supporters that are there on the ground. Things have been peaceful, as we can see right here. Now, we have been speaking with our other reporters who said that as of right now, there are no credible threats. We know that there are lots of local law enforcement. There are law enforcement from other agencies as well. Department of Homeland Security is there on the ground. And as we look at these live pictures, like I was just saying, Del, we can tell that there are many pro-Trump supporters there on the ground right now. I want to go ahead and bring in national political correspondent Joe St. George, who's also there outside of the courthouse in Miami. And Joe, something that's really difficult in this matter is that we don't have a camera inside of that courtroom right now. In fact, there were no cameras or phones allowed inside of that courthouse today. But give us the lay of the land. What can folks anticipate to happen? We know that the former president has been booked. He's been processed. What comes next?
Absolutely. He's had his fingerprints digitally taken. As you mentioned, no mugshot. They're going to upload a previously existing photo. There are plenty of photographs of the former president. As far as what is happening inside the Miami federal courthouse right now, as this arraignment gets underway, we expect the former president to appear before a magistrate judge. That is very common. It's a very procedural day. This is not the start of a trial. This is not the start of jury selection. This is the initial initial arraignment, the initial proceeding. And typically, the main judge over the trial, who for the moment is Judge Eileen Cannon, the Trump appointee, has already received a bit of criticism. But the main judge doesn't typically preside over day one initial hearings, the initial arraignment. That's usually done by magistrate judges. According to the schedule of the week, Magistrate Judge John Goodman would be tasked with that, although he could always be exchanged for another magistrate judge here in South Florida. Judge Goodman, a veteran of the bench, a former print reporter actually in South Florida, known for, according to the Miami Herald, a bit of humor on the bench, although this case is far from a laughing matter. 37 federal counts against the former president of the United States. Make no mistake about it, this is very much an active situation at the federal courthouse. We have the former president of the United States inside being arraigned at this very moment. Think about the dynamics. The former most powerful person in the world stepping into a room, in most rooms in which Mr. Trump walks in, he's the most important person in that room. But in this case, and at this very moment, he's not. He is very much in the presence of the judge who is in control of that courtroom, who will obviously break down what is next in this case and make sure that the defendant in this case, former President Donald Trump, is aware of his charges. I want to make one note here that I think is the most important thing as we will shift over the course of this next hour or so, most likely, to, okay, what happens next? Some of the biggest questions that I think will emerge from this initial arraignment is, do we have any future dates set? Are any dates being set for when we may potentially go to trial here? And that is in South Florida. I've been talking to legal experts down here for a few days now. That's the big question mark. There are some people who say the legal strategy of former President Donald Trump will be try and delay this as much as possible. But then, of course, the Southern District down here in Florida is known as the rocket docket. They have a reputation around the country for being very quick. Special counsel Jack Smith said on Friday he would like a speedy trial. Presidential candidate Chris Christie, who's a former prosecutor himself, said he thinks a trial could happen over the winter. The timing of when the former president is going to be required to be back in this courtroom is significant here because, yes, it has the potential to impact the presidential race. This is the frontrunner for the Republican nomination for president, and he could be an individual who is forced to be in a courtroom during the day and hop on a plane and campaign, hold rallies at night.
All right, Joe St. George live for us there in Miami, right outside of the courthouse. We're going to go ahead and check back with you, Joe. Thank you.
A reminder, we do have a producer inside the courthouse. We just received word moments ago that the former president of the United States has entered a plea of not guilty in connection with the 37 criminal counts he faces. Let's go now to our national political director, Andrew Rafferty. Andrew, as we are watching these crowds, if we are, so are his political opponents. As we pointed out earlier, the crowds on January 6th, larger than the crowd from his inauguration. Politically, though, how are his opponents processing what we are seeing on our screen? He called for thousands, hundreds showed up.
Yeah, well, Dal, you're right. And, you know, I think January 6th is in some ways instructive when we're talking about the Republican reaction to what is going on. Mitch McConnell just moments ago was taking questions from reporters and declined to comment on this case. He was pretty much the highest ranking Republican who had not said anything about this. And it seems like he doesn't have a whole lot to say even after getting in front of cameras. Kevin McCarthy over on the House side has certainly come to the president's defense, saying that, in fact, that the bathroom was secure and it was locked, and really defending how Trump handled those documents. But this has put the White House in a bit of an awkward position because, number one, they want to ensure that the Department of Justice is seen as operating outside of its purview, that Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, who put on Special Counsel Jack Smith, they're working on their own, that there's no political interference, which, of course, is something that Republicans have latched onto. And it's important to remember Joe Biden has his own documents investigation that's going on. There is a special counsel who's looking into how President Biden has handled documents that were found in one of his Washington, D.C. offices in a home in Wilmington, Delaware. Every indication so far is that he complied and turned those documents over when they were found, but we don't know a whole lot about the status of that case. So for those reasons, the White House and some of Donald Trump's biggest political opponents on the other side of the aisle are kind of staying out of this, but certainly those Democrats on Capitol Hill are talking a lot about how not only the fact that he took these to Mar-a-Lago, but that they were in places like bathrooms and places that were not locked, potentially put the United States national security at risk.
Yeah, I think as I was reading in the indictment, there were 150 occasions where there were guests inside the ballroom where many of those boxes were being kept. Our national political director, Andrew Rafferty. Andrew, thank you very much.
All right, Michael Williams with Scripps News West Palm Beach joins us now live from Miami. Michael, we know that the former president has now entered a not guilty plea, pleading not guilty to the 37 federal felony counts against him. I do understand that you've heard from one of the former president's lawyers. What did he have to say?
The lawyer said, and I want to quote, this from Associated Press, one of his lawyers, Alina Hababa, said, and I quote, she came outside the courthouse. This was before he'd entered that not guilty plea. She spoke to assembled reporters and said, quote, today is not about President Donald J. Trump, who is defiant. She went on to say, quote, it is not about the Republican Party. It's not about the 2024 election. Habba went on to say, again quoting, it's about the destruction of long-standing principles that have set this country apart, end quote. That from one of Trump's lawyers who came outside before his formal arraignment, where, as you said, he's now entered a not guilty plea to all 37 felony counts that he faces in this historic day at the U.S. District Court here in Miami. We're also told, according to published reports, and reporters are beginning to run out of the courtroom so that they can file, and we'll be hearing from our Scripps reporter, who was in court, of course, in full. But we're also understanding from published reports that Jack Smith, the special counsel appointed by U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, was in the front row this day. He had said the other day, no comments today, but he had said essentially, slightly paraphrasing here, when the indictment was announced, that no one is above the law. And that has been the argument all along. You heard from the lawyer for Donald Trump, but the Justice Department, the special counsel, said they put a case together. It was one that, at the end of the day, acknowledged that the law had to be applied to all. Again, slightly paraphrasing, but that's been the thrust of the DOJ argument, and it will be so going forward. So a lot developing in the last few minutes here inside the courtroom. Back to you.
Michael, can you tell us who is representing the former president today? Because there was a shakeup among his legal team, and I believe there was a new attorney added earlier this morning.
There was. That's an excellent point. Chris Keiss. He's been part of Trump's team since last fall. He's a former Florida Solicitor General. He's been added to the team as counsel. Todd Blanche last week, a former New York federal prosecutor, it was worried by the Trump team he would not be able to take any active role today in court because he had not been licensed before the Florida courts to do so. There was a scramble to get Todd Blanche certified, but Chris Keiss is counsel right now, according to the records that came out early this morning. But we would caution. I've talked to one former federal prosecutor who said, as many of you at home know, Mr. Trump has changed legal teams often, and it is not yet concretely clear that this team is a permanent one rather than an interim one. There could still be changes, people added to the team. I talked to one former prosecutor, said he'd be surprised, given the expertise needed for a case like this, if Chris Keiss might take this case all the way to the end. Others, though, will disagree with that. But I just wanted to give that cautionary note. Chris Keiss, former Florida Solicitor General, in there today. Will it stay that way? It may, but don't be surprised, given the shifts we've seen on his legal team, to see additions and subtractions in the months to come.
Yeah, that really is a great point. Michael Williams with Scripps News West Palm Beach, outside of the federal courthouse there in Miami. Michael, thank you.
Let's go back to Renato Mariotti, a former federal prosecutor, still with us at this hour. And Renato, walk us through a typical arraignment, because we're not inside the federal courtroom when these happen. You have seen so many of them. But this is anything but typical, beginning with the fact that the Attorney General of the United States was sitting in the front row.
Yeah, it's amazing. But arraignments are all fairly similar. I've handled hundreds of them. And so what an arraignment is it's a couple of different things at the same time. On the one hand, there is a formal presentation of charges. It's an opportunity for the defendant to be confronted with the charges that he faces, so that this way the system can be sure that he is receiving his due process, so he knows the allegations against him. But then, in addition to that, there is because this is his first appearance in court, there are going to be a number of other, rights that he has, and then some administrative matters that need to be worked out. So let's just kind of take each one of those. So he is going to first, they're going to present him with the charges. They're going to ask him if his attorneys, they're going to ask his attorneys, did they receive the indictment? They're going to say, yes, they have. Have they reviewed it? Did they review it with Mr. Trump? Yes, they did. They will then be asked if they would like to have the indictment formally read in court, which used to happen in the olden days, doesn't really happen today. That's always waived. They'll ask what the plea is. His plea, as we've heard, is not guilty to all counts. That is absolutely standard. I would be flabbergasted. I might fall out of my chair if it was anything but that. That would be the expectation. But then he will be admonished regarding his rights, a lot of rights that people at home have heard before, like the right to remain silent or right to have an attorney and so on. Then there also will be a discussion of the penalties that he faces, which are going to be very high. They're the maximum possible penalties. So it's always when you hear in the news that someone's facing a maximum of hundreds of years in prison, that sort of thing. That will be read to him, which doesn't mean much in terms of what the actual punishment should be or could be. And then there will also be some administrative matters that are handled, like bond. He will almost certainly be out on bond. And there will often be discussions between the defense and the prosecution in advance to work out those conditions. If there's a disagreement amongst those conditions, those will be determined by the judge at that time so that the conditions of bond are set. And then a number of deadlines will ultimately be set in the case, deadlines that will, for example, determine when motions can be filed. And in this case, given that there's national security information, what's called a protective order, which will protect the national security information contained in the discovery in this case.
Hey, Renato, I want to get an insider prosecutor's view on something. I know that when a defendant is sentenced, the marshals are brought in place because they're stepped back. They literally fall back into the marshal's arms because they realize they're going to prison. What happens when a defendant, like a former president, comes into a courthouse or courtroom and realizes when he sees the prosecutors, when he sees Jack Smith, when he sees Merrick Garland, they're no longer intangible targets. There are real people who now control his future depending on the outcome of this trial. Do they shrink in terms of stature when they realize the gravity of the charges that they face?
It does make things much more real to someone. So I have been a prosecutor for many years, for almost a decade. I've been a defense lawyer for years, and from both perspectives, I can tell you that it is humbling for people to be in this situation. It's a very stressful and challenging situation to be in. No matter what you may be thinking at home, if you're watching this, this is a very stressful and challenging situation for anyone to be in. I don't care who they are. It is, without a doubt, a difficult moment in someone's life. Now, that said, as I mentioned a moment ago, generally speaking, a white-collar defendant, and certainly in this case, President Trump, will be out on bond. And what often happens is there's a compartmentalization where this was a bad experience you try not to think about, and you kind of put it on the off to the side or in the back burner while you go about your daily life. And often, that can kind of, not be something that the defendant thinks about until trial gets close again. So it is an important moment. This is a very stressful experience, but it's fleeting.
Renato Mariotti, thank you very much. Interesting, Veronica, that right now he is addressing an audience of one. In this case, it would be the magistrate judge. Soon he will be addressing a crowd of hundreds in Bedminster, but after that, it will be a crowd of about 12 jurors who will ultimately decide the fate of the former president, which is the way our legal system is supposed to work.
That's right. And I think what's interesting to point out in this case, Del, is that when you talk about this grand jury that we're going to be seeing in Miami, this is a state that he won in 2016. He also won the state in 2020. It will be interesting to see how that impacts his trial and how that impacts the seating of the jury.
But they had a staunch Trump supporter on that jury that heard the E. Jean Carroll case in New York. It came back with a verdict of guilty. We are watching the arraignment of the former president of the United States in Miami, Florida. We will be right back.
friends. Richard Karn here.
Remember when you get a whole meal for $5?
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
Oh.
And every Tuesday at A&W, where single Papa Burger combos complete with fries and a root beer cost just $5. The good old days are here again. A complete meal for just $5. Tuesdays only at A&W.
At Smith's, we want our fresh produce to meet your expectations, which is why we do up to a 27-point inspection to check for things like color and scarring. Because when it comes to fresh, higher standards mean fresher produce. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
This summer is the perfect time to join the Jeep community, where you can overcome more obstacles, bring the sun along for every ride, and electrify every adventure by going even further. Make this the summer you go anywhere and do anything. Make this the summer of Jeep.
During Jeep 4x4 season, well-qualified returning FCA lessees can lease the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited for $369 a month. Visit Jeep.com for details.
Bipolar 1, I got help to push back.
I got help to push back.
We got help to push back with Lybalvi.
Once daily prescription Lybalvi is proven to treat manic or mixed episodes of bipolar 1 in adults to help you push back. Elderly patients with dementia have an increased risk of death or stroke. Do not take Lybalvi if you are taking opioids or are in opioid withdrawal. The samidorphan in Lybalvi can cause severe opioid withdrawal that can lead to hospitalization or increased risk of life-threatening overdose. Get emergency help if you have trouble breathing, become very drowsy with slowed or shallow breathing, or feel faint, very dizzy, or confused, or if you have fever, stiff muscles, confusion, rash, swollen glands, or problems with your liver, kidneys, heart, or lungs. Other serious side effects may include high cholesterol, weight gain, potentially fatal high blood sugar, uncontrolled body movements, which may be permanent, dizziness upon standing or falls.
Are you ready to push back against bipolar 1? Ask your doctor if Lybalvi is right for you.
When you download the Smith's app, you have easy access to savings every day and get personalized coupons sent straight to your phone. Save big today when you download the Smith's app. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
KFC's Wednesday Country Fried Steak Meal is a delicious value, complete with mashed potatoes with gravy, coleslaw, and a biscuit, all for the incredible price of just $5.99. Really, what's left to say? How about see you again next Wednesday? Country Fried Steak Meal, just $5.99, only at KFC.
Ahoy! Join Fox 13 for Family Fun Night at the Gallivan Center for a free night of fun under the sea. From a mermaid bounce house and face painting to a live pirate band, there's a whole sea of activities to explore. If the guppies get the munchies, there's delicious food for kids and parents alike. And see the Fox 13 Weather Beast and meet your favorite Fox 13 personalities. Come make a splash at the Gallivan Center. Thursday, June 22nd from 5 to 7. From Fox 13.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live, special coverage of the historic indictment and now formal arraignment of former President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, we've been learning, Del, that when that not guilty plea was entered, Trump sat in the courtroom with his arms folded, and Special Counsel Jack Smith was sitting in the front row. Which
we were talking just a moment ago with Renato, has to be intimidating if you think about it, because he now realizes that the man that he has been talking about, on the campaign trail, now really does control his fate.
That's right. Let's bring in Sophia Carolina Hernandez with Florida 24 Network. She's outside of that courthouse and has been monitoring the situation on the ground right now. Sophia, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, hi there, good afternoon. I would just say that right now it's really just been an ebb and flow all day. We have seen crowds grow throughout the afternoon. I'd say from this morning, they have tripled in size. A lot of supporters, a lot of protesters, a lot of media crews as well, and the general public. I'd say if we were to just count the supporters and protesters, we're talking hundreds, but if you factor in, again, the media crews, the general public, the roads close to this area, again, we're in downtown Miami, they are open except for 3rd through 5th Street. So the general public is allowed to come to this area, so then we're talking thousands. So what I will say, what's different today compared to other events is really the energy. The energy today just has been higher. You could probably faintly hear some of the chanting. We've really been hearing on and off throughout the entire day. Cars that pass by, trucks that pass by, they have been honking their horns, making their voices known. We've seen posters, we've seen costumes, we've seen music even. So really the energy has just been at an all-time high. And I think there was one individual who said it best to me today. He said that obviously his political views is what drove him to come out here today to show his support for the president, but that really he just wants to take part of this historic day. And when I spoke to various individuals here on the ground, they kind of just said that they want to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights, have their voices be heard, and really just take part and witness history unfold.
And Sophia, as we look at the live pictures there on the ground, we see lots of Trump supporters waving flags and the like. And moments ago, we did hear some chanting. What are they saying exactly?
It varies. Some of it is profanity, I'm not going to lie, although we have been hearing just support for the president and support against him as well. We've been hearing a varied mix of both. There's also a lot of Cuban Americans who are out here. It's a very large population here in Miami, Florida. They've been chanting in Spanish as well. I've had a chance to speak to some of those individuals as well, and they have come from a communist country, so they've been saying a lot of phrases and chants that are home to their home country. And again, they just don't want to see what they've seen unfold in their home country happen here, really anywhere else. So a lot of their chants derive from that, but again, supporters and protesters, it's really been a mix of both.
All right, Sophia Carolina Hernandez live for us there in Miami outside of the courthouse. Sophia, thank you.
We're also starting to find out a little bit more information about the ride to the courthouse. We're finding out that the former president rode to the courthouse with his oldest son, Eric Trump, who was in the limousine with him, and assuming that he was inside the courtroom as well. Also, for the people in Miami, it is a day, it is Tuesday. In Washington, however, it is a day in which the national security apparatus is watching all of this very closely. Our national security correspondent, Sasha Ingber, is live in Washington. And Sasha, if you will, talk about the significance of these charges and also the uphill battle facing the former president from the national security perspective, as everyone that you talk to every day is watching.
Del, as the president, you are the commander-in-chief. That means that you are receiving secrets of the country. You're tasked with protecting those secrets, protecting the country, and protecting the relationships and information shared with and from U.S. allies. So the contents of these documents that have been listed in the indictment, they appear to bring that into question. We're talking 31 counts from 31 documents violating the more than century-old Espionage Act of federal law. Now, it's not for spying, it's for willfully retaining national defense information. These are documents that came from the CIA, the NSA, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Some of these documents so sensitive that the classification markings themselves were classified. We saw a transcript of a conversation where the former president shared details of the potential attack on Iran and acknowledged that he did not classify that information. There were allusions to White House briefings on foreign countries' military and nuclear capabilities, their attacks, potential U.S. vulnerabilities to attacks, the U.S. nuclear weapons, and the documents had markings that indicated more information, including TS for top secret, HCS for human control systems, meaning human sources, no foreign, meaning no foreign government is allowed to access it. And so all of this information put together, of course, is upsetting for members of the intelligence community who've worked so hard, risked their lives, risked the lives of people in these different countries to gather this information. And in the court, there are certain processes that the government can take. While they don't want this information disclosed to the public to risk sources and methods, they can, for instance, invoke what's called silent witness. This is where top secret documents could be provided to jurors who, by being jurors, have access to classified information. And instead of having this read aloud by a witness, meaning that everybody in the court can hear it, the jurors themselves can absorb this information silently. There's also the pathway through the Classified Information Procedures Act. So Trump really does face quite a difficult path here, along with his defense attorneys.
Our national security correspondent, Sasha Ingber, for us. Sasha, thank you very much. Veronica, as we get ready to go to break, I'm fascinated by the fact of the moment in history. Sometimes you just have to take a breath and realize where we are. A former president of the United States has been charged under the Espionage Act for keeping those classified documents that you heard Sasha talk about. But so much involving this former president is now part of our lexicon, the history twice impeached, an insurrection, seditious conspiracy from the people that were arrested, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers. So much leading up to this moment now in history inside a courtroom today in Miami, and this is where we are.
Yeah, that's right. And not just that, but twice indicted. This is the second time we're seeing him indicted in just 2 months. The first time being a state indictment, this time being federally charged. And of course, we're going to have much more on that point after a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do you spend hours maintaining?
Ram season is here with the right trucks for every purpose, every path, and every soul. Now's the season to be a Ram.
Right now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP or 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
There are many reasons to let us independently shop your homeowner's insurance, like protecting what matters most, not to mention saving up to 35%. That's homeowner's insurance at credit union rates. Golden West Insurance Services.
We'll take care of you.
Hold on, I'm coming. You didn't tell me you were getting McDonald's.
Now try a sausage McMuffin with egg, sausage biscuit, or sausage McMuffin. Buy one, get one for $1.
It's Champion Windows' 70th anniversary sale, and we're giving the presents to you. Right now, get 40% off new windows, plus pay nothing for 18 months. And we're giving away $70,000 in our home makeover giveaway. 70 years of designing, building, installing, and guaranteeing Champion Comfort 365 windows direct from our factory to your home. Don't wait. Get 40% off windows today. Call or schedule your free estimate online 24/7 at getchampionwindows.com.
Want a flatter, tighter tummy? Then check out new Ab EX from Sono Bello.
Doctor, after my pregnancies, my body just never bounced back. I had this stomach overhang that made me really self-conscious.
It's not your fault. That stubborn fat and excess skin is extremely hard to get rid of with diet and exercise alone.
That's exactly why I went to Sono Bello. I really trust their team of experts, and I finally got the flat stomach I had always wanted.
Introducing Ab EX from Sono Bello. Remove fat and lose excess skin permanently in just one visit.
Ab EX is a great alternative to a tummy tuck. So that stomach overhang that you mentioned becomes a flat, tight tummy fast with minimal downtime.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation now to learn more about Ab EX by Sono Bello. Call 1-800-662-6517 or go to sonobello.com.
It's the used RV blowout sale, sign and drive event at the Provotown Center this holiday weekend, this Wednesday through Monday, closed Sunday. Pick out your RV, sign, and take it away. Free admission, free parking. Go to UtahRVEvent.com, hosted by Paris RV.
Thinking of building? Let the lending experts at Golden West Credit Union help make your dream home a reality with a construction loan as low as 5.75%. Apply online and get a personalized rate quote at gwcu.org.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz alongside Del Walters here in Atlanta. You're watching our special presentation of the arraignment of Donald J. Trump.
We have a team of correspondents stationed throughout Miami and also across the country. Let's go right now to our national political correspondent, Alex Miller, who is live outside the federal courthouse in Miami. Alex, I was struck just moments ago by the body language of the former president. We now know that he has been arraigned. The next thing we are watching for is for him to depart the courthouse. But the fact that his arms were crossed almost defensively, not surprisingly, but we're now starting to get those tidbits of information that paint a picture of what happened inside that courthouse where you are.
You know, Del, they really mirror what we saw just a couple of months ago when he had an arraignment in New York City. He was obviously entered a not guilty plea, but was obviously visibly frustrated and very taken aback, it looked like, as he walked down the hall in New York. It looked pretty similar here today. We are still waiting for him to leave the courthouse here. Just in my own purview, I can see that there are police officers that have fanned out a little bit more across the street corners, just in case. We're starting to hear some screaming, some chanting from protesters a little bit closer to the entrance of the courthouse. But inside the courthouse, we know that the former president not only pled not guilty to those 37 counts, but he had that plea entered by Todd Blanche, who was the one that was representing him in New York, that was quickly added to the legal team this morning despite not being a member of the Florida bar. We are told also that Jack Smith, the special counsel, was in the courtroom, as was his entire team, sitting in the front row there, ready to take this case on. His son Eric, we're told, rode with him in the motorcade, and as you said, Trump had his hands folded, wearing his signature dark suit and red tie. But out here, it is just a completely different situation than that quiet courtroom that didn't have any cameras or electronics in it. Out here, people are just wandering with their phones over, taking a lot of photos of the media, chanting, honking their horns, as you heard. And so it's just a tale of two different situations. The seriousness, the gravity of what happened inside that courtroom, I wouldn't say is necessarily felt, just a couple steps outside that courthouse.
Our national political correspondent, Alex Miller, outside the courthouse in Miami. Alex, thank you very much. Veronica, as we get ready to go to break, one of the things that I am noticing is who is there and who is not. We have not yet seen indications that either Ivanka or Melania Trump are inside the courtroom. Jared Kushner, whether or not he was there, because there was so much a presence when the former president was at the White House. And if you remember those images on election night, they were right beside him. The question is, who will be beside him as he faces perhaps the greatest legal challenges of his life?
Yeah, these are all great questions, and of course we're going to try to get some answers. We're going to take a quick break right here, and we will be right back.
Are you ready for a fresh...
Craving Rock My World bold flavors only Taco Time can deliver? Congratulations! Crushing your craving just got easier. Taco Time, online and on demand. Dream delivered. You're welcome. When you know what you want, anytime.
Hi, I'm BJ, owner of West Shore Home, and this summer I'm making bath remodeling stress-free with our 30-day guarantee.
Now BJ, what do you mean by a 30-day guarantee?
So at West Shore Home, you know that we pride ourselves on that fast, easy, convenient remodeling experience. And I know people don't want to wait months to get their bath remodeled, so I'm doing something special. For anybody who signs up for their project by June 18th, we'll make sure the entire thing is done within 30 days or the entire project is free.
So from the time somebody chooses to move forward with their project to the time they have their new shower bath completely installed, you're saying 30 days, and if you don't meet that timeline, the complete project is free.
That's right. Just to claim this offer, all you have to do is call the number on the screen, and from there you'll talk to a representative that can schedule your free in-home design consultation. You get to pick the styles and options to design the bath of your dreams. And if you don't want to pay for the project right now, we have flexible financing options to fit any budget.
Wow, so if you need a new shower bath fast, now's the time to do it. Now, BJ, some people might be worried about cost. It's summer, budgets might be a little tighter right now. Some people might be waiting for just the right moment. So how can you help them?
Sure, I know money can be tight this time of year with summer vacations and other projects going on. So that's why I'm going to take off 50% of the cost of installation. Plus, if you call right now, I'll take an additional $1,000 off that shower bath remodeling project. But you got to call right now.
Those are some huge savings, BJ. Thank you so much. And that 30-day guarantee makes it really easy to start that project now. Folks, this is an offer you do not want to miss. West Shore Home's stress-free 30-day guarantee ends soon. Call the number on your screen to lock in this deal, and when you do, BJ is going to take 50% off the cost of installation, plus an additional $1,000 off your project. This offer ends on June 18th, so don't miss out. Get your new shower or bath by calling the experts at West Shore Home now.
The largest animal ever to have lived. Bigger than any dinosaur. Blue whales. Return of the giants.
craving rock my world bowl flavors only Taco Time can deliver? Congratulations! Crushing your craving just got easier. Taco Time, online and on demand. Dream delivered. You're welcome. When you know what you want, anytime.
Welcome back to Strips News special coverage of the historic indictment, now formal arraignment of Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, we want to go ahead and bring in some new voices right here. But before we do that, we also want to give you an update as to what's been taking place in the courthouse because, of course, no cameras are allowed in. And we do have a producer on the ground, though, that's been tracking all of this. And we're learning that the magistrate judge in this case, Judge Jonathan Goodman, has now ordered the former president not to speak with his co-defendant in this case, his co-defendant being Walt Nata, who was his longtime valet.
Yeah, we want to introduce the legal experts that we have with us right now. Michael Zeldin worked in the criminal division at the Department of Justice. Renato Mariotti is a former federal prosecutor, wide range of experience inside the courtroom. And Lindsay Shervinsky is a presidential historian teaching at the George Washington University.
Michael, I want to go ahead and start with you right here and ask you a couple questions about what I was just saying. We understand that the magistrate judge in this case, Judge Jonathan Goodman, has now said that Trump should not communicate with Walt Nata. Now, we know that Nata has been arraigned and has been at Trump's side this entire time. What more can you tell us about the charges that Nata is facing and the news that's developing? What do you make of that, the fact that they're not allowed to speak to each other?
Well, let's start with the charges. Nata and Trump are charged with conspiracy to obstruct justice and to make false statements. So they are integrally linked to the aspect of the indictment, which I think is the strongest. We know from public reporting that Nata's attorneys, I think, are being paid for by Trump. Trump is trying very hard, I think, to keep him in line because Nata, as a co-conspirator, could be a critical witness against Trump if he flips. And so the judge's order, the magistrate judge's order to keep these guys separate, I think is a smart move to ensure that Trump does not try to influence unduly Nata and interfere with Nata's independent right to make the strongest deal for himself. So it is something to keep an eye on for sure.
And what's at stake here for Nata? We know that he has been a longtime valet for the former president, has always stood by his side. What types of penalties do these charges carry?
Lengthy prison terms. And while we've talked about would a president of the United States, a former president of the United States, ever be sentenced to jail, and the thinking is most likely not. The Secret Service can't even protect him in jail. The U.S. Marshals and the prison guards can't really protect him there. So were he to be given any sort of sentence, it would probably be a home detention styled, but not true for Nata. He would go to jail. And I think that he has to think long and hard about whether he wants to spend the next 5+ years in jail because of loyalty, when in all probability, he could strike a very favorable deal for himself were he to testify. So the stakes for him are very high, and I think the separation of the two will help him make an independent decision about what's in his best interest versus what's in the president's best interest.
All right, former DOJ official Michael Zeldin. Michael, don't go too far. We're going to be circling back with you.
Yeah, let's pick up that thread with Renato Mariotti, a former prosecutor. Renato, the situation, Walt Nata cannot talk to Donald Trump. He is his man. He is his valet. The fact that they cannot talk, if you were the prosecutor in this case, would you right now be making a move on Walt Nata to see if he would flip? I think need you to activate your sound on your computer. Renato, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah,
I was on mute. But the short answer is I think that's why Jack Smith charged him. In other words, I believe that Jack Smith certainly charged him because he thought he had the evidence. But I definitely think one reason Jack Smith brought those charges is because he wanted to achieve a cooperation because that's going to create a lot of upside for Jack Smith, having a co-conspirator testifying against the former president. That said, whether that's actually going to happen is anyone's guess. At this point, he has not cooperated. I'm very skeptical of whether or not there's actually going to be no communication between the two, particularly since they're co-workers. A lot of times a judge will make some sort of exception in that circumstance and say that, they can talk about their employment, but not about their case, that sort of thing. But Nata seems to have thrown his boat in with Trump, so to speak, and he's swimming in the same waters. And ultimately, the pressure will be there, but whether there's actually a break, it remains to be seen.
Renato, I don't want to be starting a fight between you and Michael Zeldin, but Michael indicated he thinks that Nata could wind up going to prison, but the former president might not be headed to prison, maybe home detention. But there's also January 6th, any indictments that would come out of that grand jury. If the former president is convicted in connection with January 6th, the insurrection, do you see him actually one day having to serve prison time as opposed to home confinement?
It's a very difficult question, obviously unprecedented. It's worth noting the former president faces a couple of other charges as well, right? He faces a charge in Manhattan, which I don't think would get prison time, but he also faces potential charges in Fulton County, Georgia. It's unprecedented. It's also worth remembering, of course, the former president is in his mid-70s. And the legal system does take some time to wind through to its conclusion. So as a practical matter, I think this case may not be over for years to come. He may not be sentenced for years to come. We don't know what his health is going to be. So it's possible. I'll be less definitive than Michael. I think it's possible he could see prison time. But, given all the facts and circumstances, I wouldn't bet my life on it either.
Renato Mariotti. Renato, thank you very much. I was just thinking as he was talking about the former president's age, George W. Bush, the former president, Bill Clinton, all born in the same year within months of each other. So that should give you an idea of the age of sending someone like that, which is way, way far in the future because there still has to be a trial. He is innocent until proven guilty, but should he wind up being sentenced, anything for a man that age is literally considered spending the rest of his life behind bars or in home confinement.
And don't forget, this is not the only case against him right now. There are several legal entanglements that the former president is facing. So this is just one of a couple. We want to go and bring in Lindsay Chervinsky right here. She's a presidential historian. Lindsay, what do you make so far of what we've been witnessing unfold with Trump's arraignment? Let's talk about how unprecedented this is.
Well, I think all of the preparations and even our conversations today demonstrate how much care and thought has to go into this process, both in terms of the security. When we see the guards outside of the courthouse, we see protections against potential violence, against potential threats. And we also see people grappling with how to talk about any potential punishments or implications of this case, because it is so far beyond anything we've seen that we are really wandering in the dark here, legally speaking. And so I think it's good and wise for everyone to move cautiously, to move slowly. And of course, everyone present at the courthouse is treating the former president as though he is innocent until proven guilty, which, regardless of the evidence, is the right thing to do, especially given the stakes and the unprecedented nature of this.
At Smith's, we want our fresh produce to meet your expectations, which is why we do up to a 27-point inspection to check for things like color and scarring. Because when it comes to fresh, higher standards mean fresher produce. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
Ram season is here with the right trucks for every purpose, every path, and every soul. Now's the season to be a Ram.
Right now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP or 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
Here at locally owned and operated John Paris Furniture, we have a great selection in stock, ranging from bedroom and dining sets to mattresses and home entertainment, and many styles of sofas and sectionals. Since 1961, John Paris Furniture has provided sale prices every day, along with free delivery to thousands upon thousands of satisfied customers. Don't wait. Find what you're looking for at John Paris Furniture in Sandy, West Valley, and Rock Springs, Wyoming.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants, we believe in the healing power of a new smile, the way it makes you look and feel, the way a smile lights up a room, so people can see the best version of you, which is why we make new smiles affordable for everyone, so you don't need to wait another day to get your smile back. Scan the QR code to learn more, or visit affordabledentures.com.
Go ahead and smile.
Your wooden deck can take a beating, and even worse, so can you. What's the answer? Duradeck. There's a low-maintenance Duradeck surface that's just right for your home. Don't get caught in the rain. Get a Duradeck. Duradeck, waterproofing solutions that work.
When people hear how much Esquire Law has gotten for their clients, their reactions are priceless.
Oh, yeah!
All right!
Cha-ching!
That's what I'm talking about. Call Esquire Law.
You've got to be kidding me.
Wow! I told you. Don't trust the insurance company to give you a fair offer. Call Esquire Law and let them fight for the real number. Car wreck? Call Esquire Law. 800-830-4144.
The only way Papa John's makes a big, extra-large New York-style pizza like this is by hand-stretching that Papa John's fresh, never-frozen dough. Get the extra-large New York-style pizza from Papa John's.
When you download the Smith's app, you have easy access to savings every day and get personalized coupons sent straight to your phone. Save big today when you download the Smith's app. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
A powerhouse law firm. So if a defective product, motor vehicle accident, or medical malpractice caused a catastrophic injury, call Klein Inspector.
I take caring for my kitty very seriously. When I found a health monitoring kitty litter, I had to meet the creator.
Oh, hi, kitten.
Please call me Martha. This litter seriously stops odors and it changes colors.
Go to prettylitter.com.
If you're living with diabetes, this is the sound that could change your life.
Great news for people living with diabetes. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor and eliminate routine finger sticks. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over.
Call 800-719-8907.
If you use insulin daily to manage your condition, a continuous glucose monitor could help you control your diabetes and reduce or eliminate those painful finger sticks. If you have Medicare or private insurance, US Med can deliver a CGM system right to your door. And if you qualify, there may be little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and will even bill your insurer directly. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Call 800-719-8907. That's 800-719-8907.
Welcome back to Strip's new special coverage of the historic indictment and now formal arraignment of former President Donald Trump. As we have been on the air, history has been made. The former president has now been booked and fingerprinted on those 37 federal criminal counts. The hearing now officially lasting 47 minutes.
Yeah, lots of news coming in right now. We do know that his son, Eric Trump Jr., was by his side during that arraignment. We also know that the former president entered a not guilty plea when those charges against him were read. He was sitting there in the courtroom with his arms folded across his chest, and special counsel Jack Smith was in the front row.
Also, we're hearing that Walt Nata did not enter a plea, his co-defendant in this case, but then asked for an extension as he was instructed by the magistrate not to communicate with the former president, which could complicate matters because he is, in a sense, his valet, the person who carries so much for him, and in this case now is charged along with him. Our legal guest saying moments ago, it is possible that as this case proceeds through trial, he will be someone that prosecutors will try to flip, and also someone who could wind up being sentenced to prison If convicted, the former president might be sentenced to home confinement.
And what's interesting here, Del, is that we're learning that he had an attorney that wasn't part of the bar here in Florida, so now he has to find a local attorney to sponsor him in this matter. And like you had just said, his arraignment has now been moved to the end of June 27th. We're looking at live pictures right here, by the way, of that motorcade that is now on its way to the Miami International Airport. The arraignment has now ended. It was a very short arraignment. It took about 47 minutes in that federal courthouse. Standing by for us is White House producer Kellen Howell, who has been inside that courtroom. And as soon as she is ready to speak with us, we're going to go live to her. In the meantime, we want to go and bring in Andrew Rafferty, our political director right here. So, Andrew, very, very short day in court, less than an hour. What do you make of what we've seen so far, and whether or not this could impact Trump's political standing?
Yeah, well, Veronica, remember, we all know this is the second time Trump has been through an arraignment in almost as many months, and it might not be the last time. I just want to take a step back and remind viewers that this is not the only investigation going on in legal troubles potentially for Donald Trump. We talked about that fraudulent business claims in New York, dealing with those potential hush money payments to Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election. It is worth noting that in Washington, D.C. right now, a grand jury is still meeting related to that January 6th investigation, also overseen by Jack Smith. And then here in Georgia, Fulton County also dealing with an investigation that stems from, among other things, that now infamous phone call with the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, asking him to look for votes ahead of the 2020 election.
I thank you. I thank our entire team on the ground. I also thank my co-anchor here, Veronica de la Cruz. A reminder that some of you are leaving us now to return to other programming. For those of you who are staying with us, we invite you to please stand by. You're watching history being made in Florida.
Sizzling summer savings are happening right now at Ashley. Pay 0% interest for 5 years, no minimum purchase. And score even more deals that are too hot to handle during the 72-hour summer event. Happening in-store only June 17th through 19th. Only at Ashley.
Get your home or business ready for spring with a professional cleaning by Stanley Steamer. Winter buildup can leave your carpets, upholstery, tile floors, and more looking dull and dirty. Stanley Steamer certified technicians use powerful proprietary equipment and family-safe cleaning solutions to remove the buildup of dirt, dust, and grime to restore your home or business to cleaner and healthier spaces. For a fresh start this spring, call or go online to schedule your deep cleaning with Stanley Steamer today.
Happy Take and Bake Tuesday!
Every Tuesday at Papa Murphy's, you can get any large pizza for just $12, which makes Tuesday the best day to bring home all your favorites.
We might have too many favorites.
Order now at papamurphys.com.
When I was young, just a boy, dreamed of falling in love with a girl like you. I wanna grow old with you. You're making my dreams come true. 'Cause I don't get old loving you.
I'm Dr. Ryan Ellsworth, a podiatric surgeon. I perform no-cost spine surgeries at JBR Clinical Research. JBR is currently studying an investigational pain medication given after bunion surgery. To participate, call 801-261-2000 or visit jbrclinicalresearch.com.
This is me, and this was my stubborn body fat. My name's Adrian, and Sonobello changed my life. Sonobello is America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist, and they permanently removed my body fat in just one visit. After having 2 kids, my body, it changed a lot. I tried everything to lose the fat, but nothing seemed to work.
Sonobello's board-certified surgeons use micro-laser technology to safely target and remove your diet-resistant fat cells permanently on your stomach, back, chin, and more.
I've seen such dramatic results. My tummy is gone, my double chin is gone, and my hourglass shape is back. This was the mommy makeover that I deserved.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation and find out how you can get $250 off instantly. Call
888-994-2792
or go to sonobello.com.
Right now at Ashley, pay 0% interest for 5 years with no minimum purchase. Ashley Sleep Align mattresses start at $999.99. And for a limited time, when you add an Align adjustable base to your purchase, you can save 10% on the set. Only at Ashley.
President pleading not guilty. His body man, his aide, Walt Nata, not entering a plea, asking for more time because the magistrate in the case has instructed both men not to talk to each other as this case proceeds. We want to go right now to our White House producer, Kellen Howe, who is live outside the Miami Federal Courthouse, along with Alex Miller. Kellen, you were inside there. You've been our eyes and ears on the ground. Exactly what took place and what have you seen so far?
I'm going to take it over for you because Kellen just ran out of the courthouse, and so we're just going to ask her a couple questions from here, if that's okay with you, because she can't hear you. But Kellen, just set the scene for us. You were in there for quite some time. What was it like inside the courtroom?
Well, Alex, we had to wait all day to even get into this courtroom. They allowed a group of us in at about 9 a.m. and then we weren't allowed to have cell phones, no electronic devices, so then it was just kind of a waiting game. Finally, at about 2:45 is when my group of reporters was ushered in. About 40 reporters total were allowed to come in, plus about 10 members of the public. And when I got into the courtroom, the former president was already seated. He was wearing a blue suit. I sat directly behind him, behind about 2 rows of Secret Service detail. And the courtroom was full, but I'd say there was maybe about 60 people total in there. I did see Jack Smith, the special prosecutor in this, sitting on the other side in the audience, not in the prosecution benches. The president did not speak at all the entire time. When the plea was entered, it was his attorney, Don Blanche, who entered that plea, and he said, you know, of course, we plead not guilty, you know, sort of not in a joking way, but there was no question that it was going to be anything else. Now, there was some discussion back and forth that made this arraignment take a little bit longer than we thought it was going to. We thought it was just going to be the not guilty, the reading of the bond, and then we would be out of there. But there was some disagreement between the government and the defense over one of the special conditions of the bond for the former president, and that is who he is allowed to talk to about the facts of the case without going through counsel. They sort of went back and forth on producing a list of potential witnesses in the case. What was ultimately decided by the judge is that the government, the prosecutors, would produce this list that would then, you know, be potential witnesses that the former president is not allowed to speak to about the facts of the case. But there was a lot of back and forth about that.
Did they have somebody specific that they really wanted to be able to talk to that they mentioned?
They didn't mention anyone specifically. Sort of the issues that were raised by the president's lawyers were, we don't know who is going to be on this list, and it could potentially be people that the president interacts with quite regularly. They did mention that one of the potential witnesses is the president's, continues to be the president's legal counsel. So that was mentioned, not by name, but they, you know, expressed some concern because originally there was discussion of him not being able to talk to these people in any way, not just about the facts of the case. But what was ultimately decided on was that the prosecution would produce a list then that would be people who the president is not, former president is prohibited from speaking to simply about the facts of the case without going through counsel. And if his legal counsel has a problem with that list, they can petition the judge for a review of it.
You know, when I've been in the courtroom and he's been on the monitor, sometimes joining from Florida, he will roll his eyes. He will, you know, make a lot of facial expressions. I know you were sitting behind him, but could you see what his demeanor was like in there?
So I couldn't see any of his facial expressions. I was sitting behind him. I sort of joked with you that it felt like that opening scene at Succession, kind of looking at the back of his head. But I could see that he sort of, you know, he went back and forth from folding his arms. He did lean over and whisper quite a bit with his representative, his lawyer Blanche. He didn't really speak so much with any of his other legal counsel. And then at the end, when we were adjourned and we were waiting to be escorted out of the room, the former president, he did stand up and he did turn around and he sort of looked at us in the press and kind of assessed us, didn't say anything, just sort of gave a quick glance and then, you know, turned and walked away. Didn't say anything, didn't make any sort of gestures or anything.
Well, as he looked in the gallery, you mentioned that the first 2 rows had Secret Service in them. Was there anybody else there on behalf of the former president?
I didn't see any of his family members or any of his sort of entourage that I would typically recognize. It seemed like it was a lot of just his Secret Service that was there with him in the courtroom. Now, there may have been other people that were waiting outside of the courtroom, but from who I could recognize, I did not see anybody, any members of his family or any of those people that we normally associate with him.
Did the judge say anything about his lawyers? You know, we've had this legal representation go on and off, and new and old people jumping back on and off the ship. You know, was it a hectic start to it? Did he make any comment about that?
Well, they did establish that the 2 lawyers who were with the former president today, they will be representing him permanently. In fact, one of those lawyers was actually given that special waiver that we've been talking about by Judge Eileen Cannon, who is has been so controversial in this case already. So those 2 that we saw today are going to be representing him permanently in this case. There was a bit of a back and forth on the other defendant in this case, Mr. Nata. His lawyer today, his last name is Woodward, has not yet received that waiver. And so because of that, his arraignment actually had to be delayed by about 2 weeks. They were able to go through with the reading of the bond. His bond has the same conditions as the former president's. They both don't have a financial condition. They don't have to pay any fines. There's no travel restrictions. They don't have to give back their passports. There's no restriction on owning firearms. But there is that special condition about who they can talk to about the facts of the case. And so because of what we were talking about with that special waiver for that lawyer Woodward, who is not barred in this specific Southern District, they're going to delay his arraignment where he enters that plea of guilty or not guilty by 2 weeks. When they do come back for that arraignment, though, the judge said that Mr. Nata does not have to appear in person at that arraignment.
It's kind of interesting to see how they're charged with some of the same crimes and how this might be a very different situation for both of them. CNN was reporting that Nata had his mugshot taken, even though the former president did not. Now you're seeing that his arraignment is postponed. Obviously, the former president was able to have his today. Did his lawyer say anything, or was there any representation of him in the courtroom at the same time?
Mr. Nata?
Yeah.
Yes, it was only Mr. Woodward that we saw in the court at the time. His was the only representation there, and he just said he was waiting for that waiver in order to continue to represent him permanently. And what I will say, you brought up the mugshots earlier. We did hear earlier in the day from one of the U.S. Marshals who was going through what the procedure would be for the booking for Mr. Trump, for the former president, and for Mr. Nata. And what he did say to us when we asked about the mugshot, you know, we were told that it would be a photo of him that was uploaded, a previously taken photo, not a new mugshot. And we kind of asked, you know, well, why? Like, why isn't he getting a mugshot? And what the U.S. Marshal told us was, you know, we all know what he looks like. We've seen his face millions of times, and, you know, we don't consider him, he's not considered a flight risk. It's not somebody that could just kind of sneak out of the country and we wouldn't know about it. And prosecutors today also said they don't consider him a flight risk. That's why there's none of those travel restrictions being placed on him.
That's an interesting justification for not having a mugshot. I've never heard that one. Dell has a question for you. What's going on, Dell?
Yeah, Alex, I know that you're going to relay my question, so don't tell her how impressed I am with the incredible detail that she has managed to describe everything that happened inside that courtroom, because I've recognized that she is not holding any notes. I'm wondering whether or not she has an audiographic and photographic memory. But that said, Eric Trump, we know that he was with the former president. I'm curious, did she see any other family members of the former president, Ivanka, Melania, or any others with the former president as this arraignment took place?
Did you see any current or any family members? I know you mentioned that you didn't see any in the courtroom. Were there any of them, you know, roaming around the halls as you're waiting to get in or anything like that?
I did not see any family members. You know, none of those faces that we're also familiar with. In fact, the most of the people that I was seeing were, you know, U.S. Marshals, people who work for the courts. a lot of journalists. There were probably at least 100 of us waiting in this sort of holding room all day, but there were a handful of members of the public who were there as well. And I actually did talk to a few of these members. Some of them slept overnight in this line to get into the court. But what I was kind of surprised by is that, save for just one of them, the folks that I talked to who were there, they weren't these sort of flag waving, extremely pro-Trump supportive. A couple of them were just sort of swept up by the history of what was happening today and said that they just kind of wanted to witness it and wanted to see, this history taking place, something that's never happened before, and witness it for themselves.
So were they saying they're not angry about the indictment, they just wanted to kind of see how this all unfolded?
One man that I talked to, and let me flip through my notes really quickly just to get a little bit more detail on him. He is actually a federal litigation attorney who lives in California, but he was out here in Florida traveling for a basketball camp for his daughter, which is about an hour away. And when he heard about what was going on, he said, I'm a federal litigation attorney. I want to know what's going on. He drove and decided to see this. He told me that he was a Trump supporter, that he did vote for President Trump in 2016, but that he doesn't support him anymore after the events of January 6th. And so he said he really just kind of wanted to witness this moment in history today, especially as someone who practices federal law himself. Just thought it was a fascinating thing to be a party to. But he said he got here about 10 o'clock last night and camped out overnight in order to get into the courtroom.
Wow. Trump is just right now, so he's greeting some people here right now. Del, I'm going to send it back to you so you can cover what's going on down there.
Kellen and Alex, I thank both of you. We want to go right now to Ryan Wiggins, who is the Chief of Staff of the Lincoln Project. As we see the former president right now, he is in Little Havana, meeting with some supporters there. Ryan is also a former leading Republican strategist. And Ryan, the politics of this, a crowd of thousands was called for. A crowd of 100 or 200 might have showed up. By some estimates, the larger side might be 500. Your thoughts on the politics of what we saw unfold today in Miami?
I think it's really interesting. I think it's good for the country that we did not see, the kind of chaos that was being asked for and requested on social media earlier this week, where, you heard members of Congress saying, it's a war now, or, guard the bridges. And, I think that everyone was understandably on edge with all of the talk about the potential violence, especially after what happened on 1/6, where we saw Trump bring in a mob of people to do, to cause harm. So I think it's a very, very good thing that we didn't have that today, or at least haven't had that yet today. I think that, yeah.
No, I was going to say, you brought up January 6th, and what I was going to point out for a lot of people that they don't seem to remember that there was also another incident that was violent in December, in which Trump supporters clashed with anti-Trump supporters in Washington, D.C. And that being said, do you think that what we saw today in Florida gives rise to his political opponents to be more aggressive in criticizing the former president? We saw that with Chris Christie. We saw it with Asa Hutchinson. To a certain extent, we also saw it with former Governor Nikki Haley in South Carolina. Do you see the door open now for other critics of the former president and political opponents to seize on him maybe being politically weaker than they once might have thought that he was?
Absolutely not. In fact, this morning, Nikki Haley was on radio saying that she would lean toward a pardon if she were elected president. The calculus on this has not changed at all. What you have here is you have a man who is the front runner in the Republican Party. His people, his base, is not going anywhere. They have been with him from the beginning. They remain with him, and they are the largest chunk of the Republican voting base. So what I think is this for his presidential run, for the politics of his presidential run, I don't think it matters. I think that his people get fired up by this kind of thing. I think that, he's going to probably use this for fundraising. I mean, tonight he has something at Bedminster, and there's a fundraising plea that is going out with it. So unfortunately, it's a cult, and they are acting culty. They're going to absolutely follow him off the bridge on this one.
Ryan, stand by. I want to bring in our political director, Andrew Rafferty. Andrew, as we're seeing these images of the former president right now in Little Havana, going to the restaurant there after his arraignment, after being indicted and hearing those 37 criminal charges read against him, you're looking at someone who already is working in the crowd. And you're right, even after the indictment was announced, the fundraising text went out. Is this a bad day or a good day for the former president?
Well, look, I mean, Donald Trump has been very clear that he did not want to get indicted. He told reporters that even if his polls do go up. But here are these images, and I believe this is the Versailles Bakery in Little Havana. And anyone who's covered presidential politics in Florida, chances are you've gone there with a candidate. And the fact that he went straight from the courtroom to an off-the-record campaign stop, I think, is a pretty clear indication of what we should, at this point, expect to see out of the former president, that he is not letting any of these legal challenges slow him down. And I think his campaign team, tonight you mentioned, they are holding a fundraiser, and I think that they are working hard to raise a lot of money.
Andrew, we spend a lot of time talking about the venue.
We love the people, and you see where they are. You see the crowds and everything else. We have a country that is in decline like never before, and we can't let it happen. I'm going to make a little speech tonight in Bedminster, and I hope you're going to be there. Can you start tomorrow? I hope you're going to be there. You can come too if you want, okay? Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Andrew, I was going to ask you just moments ago, we talked about the importance of venue. We talked about it with regards to the judge in this case and also where the jury pool will be from. We also didn't talk about it concerning what might have been different. This image that we're seeing right now, had the former president been arraigned in Washington, D.C., what we're seeing on our screen with him in Little Havana, we would not have seen in Washington, D.C.
No, certainly not. And, you know, that is one of the other side kind of spectacles of this. Of course, Florida is an area that is very important to Donald Trump. It's where he ultimately decided to make his residence after leaving the White House. Just so happens to be incredibly politically important, just so happens to be the state where his chief political rival is the governor of. And so all of these are kind of playing into what has been a very interesting dynamic throughout the day. And to see him kind of hitting the campaign trail, getting one last stop, not going to waste a visit to Florida just for an arraignment, going to make sure you get some campaign time out of it, I think is very telling about where Donald Trump's mindset is, about where his sort of campaign apparatus is, and that they want to show a certain level of defiance that we have seen over the weekend in those rallies, both here in Georgia and North Carolina, continuing on today with this stop before he heads back to the airport and back to New Jersey.
Andrew, I want to point out that we've been on the air now for the better part of 3 hours. Guess which name we did not mention until now? That of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. This is his backyard. He is the governor there. He had overwhelming support in his race for the governor's mansion. He is Donald Trump's political opponent. Why is he invisible?
You know, this is going to be a really challenging time for the rest of the Republican field. You remember that first indictment back in New York. That came at a time when Donald Trump was actually either neck and neck or trailing Ron DeSantis in a lot of those early polls. After that indictment, we saw rallying around Donald Trump from the Republican establishment. He ultimately is now pretty handily ahead of Ron DeSantis. And so the real challenge, not just today, but for the foreseeable future here, is how do the rest of these Republicans kind of make a name for themselves and stand out when they can't really go after Trump for these charges, because we know that Republican primary voters are pretty handily on his side, and the rest of the Republican establishment is mostly focused on what they are calling the weaponization of the Department of Justice, that the Department of Justice has somehow unfairly gone after the former president while electing not to go after people like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Of course, there are some very key differences that we're going to continue to talk about between some of those past instances and what we saw today. But it is a really challenging time for Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, and anyone else who's trying to run for president in 2024 as a Republican.
And for those who are watching these images wondering whether or not a politician can emerge more popular after being indicted, history in the United States has shown us that politicians have campaigned amid scandals before in the past. The former mayor of Washington, D.C., Marion Barry, reelected after spending time in prison. Also, you think about Huey Long and other politicians. Our history is checkered when it comes to that particular issue. Don't go anywhere. Our special coverage of the arraignment of Donald John Trump continues right after a quick break. We'll be right back.
Ahoy! Join Fox 13 for Family Fun Night at the Gallivan Center for a free night of fun under the sea. From a mermaid bounce house and face painting to a live pirate band, there's a whole sea of activities to explore. If the guppies get the munchies, there's delicious food for kids and parents alike. And see the Fox 13 Weather Beast and meet your favorite Fox 13 personalities. Come make a splash at the Gallivan Center. Thursday, June 22nd from 5 to 7. From Fox 13.
It's slow braised, shredded, and back at Del Taco. Shredded pork carnitas returns in a stuffed quesadilla taco, combo burrito, epic torta, and carnitas fries. Tenderer, shredder, juicier carnitas. Say hello to Del Taco Bettermex.
This summer is the perfect time to join the Jeep community, where you can overcome more obstacles, bring the sun along for every ride, and electrify every adventure by going even further. Make this the summer you go anywhere and do anything. Make this the summer of Jeep.
During Jeep 4x4 season, well-qualified returning FCA lessees can lease the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited for $369 a month. Visit Jeep.com for details.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants, we believe in the healing power of a new smile, the way it makes you look and feel, the way a smile lights up a room, so people can see the best version of you, which is why we make new smiles affordable for everyone, so you don't need to wait another day to get your smile back. Scan the QR code to learn more, or visit affordabledentures.com.
Go ahead and smile.
It's slow braised, shredded, and back at Del Taco. Shredded pork carnitas returns in a stuffed quesadilla taco, combo burrito, epic torta, and carnitas fries. Tenderer, shredder, juicier carnitas. Say hello to Del Taco Bettermex.
I'm Fox 13's Amy Nay. Did you know alcohol is the most commonly abused drug for our youth? Studies show how damaging that can be to a developing brain and body. Research suggests that parental disapproval is the biggest reason kids will choose not to drink. Providing alcohol-free activities goes a long way toward preventing underage drinking, and it's recommended to start conversations as early as age 9. Visit parentsempowered.org for conversation starters and more tips. A message from Fox 13.
Snow. It's the lifeblood of our state. From the water we drink to the powder we ski, we are dependent on Utah's winter weather. That's why Utah's Weather Authority is made up of meteorologists who've dedicated their lives to understanding Utah's unique weather patterns and how they impact our community every day.
Get prepared.
For complete and comprehensive weather coverage this winter, turn to Utah's Weather Authority. Only on Fox 13 News.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the arraignment of Donald J. Trump. I'm Del Walters in Atlanta. The former president making an impromptu stop through Little Havana after leaving the courthouse. The images you're seeing right now is after he left the Versailles restaurant there, being greeted with well-wishers, which is not exactly what you expect to see after a criminal indictment is read in federal court. This is federal court right now. As you can see, the small contingent of Trump supporters is now leaving, the day ending without incident, the arraignment lasting roughly 47 minutes. The president's son, the former president's son, Eric Trump, was by his side. The plea was entered by his attorney, that plea being not guilty. I want to bring in Court TV's legal correspondent, Joya Janae. And Joya, we had a fascinating conversation during the commercial because on Court TV, you deal with the law only. This is the law in politics. Your thoughts on what you're seeing, especially what you saw after the former president left the courthouse?
You know, this is a difference in the way that people are responding. To see the crowd that's outside of this courthouse supporting him and those who are not supporting him, it's just a different kind of feel that you see for an arraignment. It's not a rally. But when we deal with our cases, oftentimes you see people digging into the indictment. They're looking at the law and the facts. Are the facts there to support what's going on? In this case, it seems that there's a very high number of people. I would almost go as far as to say an overwhelming majority of people who are dismissing the facts completely because they don't believe in the way that this was handled, or those who seem to just be on board with it because they believe that this person is guilty. So no.
As you're seeing these images, I am reminded of the phrase jury nullification, in which you only have to find that one member of the jury who says, I do not believe anything that the prosecutors are putting forward, and therefore I am going to continue to vote for acquittal no matter what evidence you present.
Right.
Is there a strong case right now for an argument of jury nullification on the part of his defense team?
Jury nullification being that they're not going to follow the law.
Right.
That even if the law and the facts line up, even if there is proof beyond a reasonable doubt, they are going to stick with something else, either their gut or how they feel about the system. And it is possible in a case where a juror could go that route, but jury selection is going to be so important. Federal juries usually are much more intensely vetted and will likely see as close to a group of unbiased people who aren't polarized on one side or the other, who will serve as jurors if this case gets to a jury.
As you are now seeing the images politically and also the images legally, what is now the most important part of this case moving forward? Is it jury selection? Is it the evidence that is allowed to be presented? I know you're going to say it's all of the above, but you got to pick one.
It is all of the above. Can I say transparency?
Oh.
I think for the public, they need to see as much as possible about how this process works. It's in federal court. We're not going to have cameras. They're not going to be able to see what unfolds in the way that they may be used to with cases that are in state court. I think the first step was this indictment. It's thorough, it's got pictures, it's got a lot of information that we don't often see in a federal indictment early on. I think a lot of things will be sealed, but I think as much as possible, the justice system needs to make sure the public understands this process so they'll understand the outcome.
One of the reasons that judges have argued for decades about not having cameras in the courtroom is not to introduce the circus-like atmosphere of a trial itself. We are watching right now helicopters watching the motorcade of the former president making his way through the streets of Miami. We saw just moments ago him live at the Versailles restaurant in Little Havana, meeting and greeting people the moment after the arraignment. We saw nothing that happened inside the courtroom, but we saw everything that happened after that. Is this a strong case for the fact that, I guess, the legal proceedings have now become part legal, part theater, or has it always been that way?
No, I think it's always been that way in terms of the public's interest in certain cases, and they certainly have an interest in this case. I don't expect that there will be any exceptions made for more awareness inside of those courtrooms. Even journalists won't likely be able to take in their devices to relay information. But I think you're highlighting a really good point. When we have these pretrial hearings and things are over, the former president is going to be able to come out, give a rally speech. He'll be able to say what he wants to say about what happened inside, and it will likely overshadow what the prosecution can't divulge. We know prosecutors very often cannot speak about a case, so likely the entire narrative of this process will be through either the former president and his supporters that are there, or those journalists who are inside trying to relay what's going on.
You have the right to remain silent until you don't. Julia Janae with Court TV. Julia, thank you very much. Let's go to our Deputy Political Director, Joe St. George. He is above the federal courthouse in Miami. Joe, let's rewind for a moment, because we have been so focused on the former president's movements after leaving the courthouse. Walk us back through what just happened inside that courtroom as that history was made.
Yeah, good afternoon once again, Del. To some degree, right, a lot of this could have been predicted ahead of time, what we saw in the courtroom. And a lot of our legal experts throughout the day here on Scripps News predicted it correctly. Not guilty plea entered. The judge, as our exceptional White House producer Kellen Howell was in the courtroom previously reported, ordered the president, former president, to limit contact with certain individuals, including his co-defendant in this case. And also we learned that there would be no travel restrictions. There was always that minute possibility that his passport may be surrendered or that his international travel may be restricted. Not the case here. I was struck at the courthouse, being here in Miami, hearing the helicopters overhead. at just how fascinating, Del, you're a student of history, as am I, just how fascinating of a political figure really former President Donald Trump truly is. Because this is now a man twice impeached, twice indicted, and yet he's someone who emerges from this courthouse and is able to go to a campaign stop right away, and his supporters are with him as if nothing had happened. It's important for us as the media to remember that there's two very that we are a divided country. You have half the country who were saying with this indictment, finally. You were saying having half the country say this is justified. You have another half of the country who is believing this is politically motivated. You know, this story is playing out one way in New York and in Washington, and another way in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And they're asking this question right now. Well, what about President Biden? He had classified documents too. There's a special counsel investigation into the president as well happening. What about him? Well, very different circumstances. When you read this 49-page indictment, and I know a lot of our viewers may not have the time to, so what we did it for you, if you read between the lines in this indictment, Del, it suggests that perhaps if the former president turned over these boxes when he was asked, perhaps we would not be live here in Miami, and the former president would not have just been arraigned in federal court. And that President Biden's attorneys, former Vice President Mike Pence, also dealt with classified documents issues, that they turned over the documents right away. It is just been a fascinating day. How many afternoons in our careers have we talked about a historic day involving former President Donald Trump? Today was one of those days, Del.
You know, Joe, as I'm looking at these images of the former president's motorcade now making its way to the airport, I'm reminded that there is another lens that is looking at this. It is the children sitting in classrooms around the nation. Many of them will be returning home asking what happened on this day, and their parents will tell them that on this day, a former president of the United States was arraigned on criminal charges, and this will be one of those moments in time, one of those moments in American history where so many people will say, on this day, this is what I was doing, and this is what is happening, and so many people will ask what it was like.
And Del, if I could just interrupt you real quickly, think if you were born in 2010 or 2014, and all you've maybe known is the politics of former President Donald Trump, who emerged on that escalator in the summer of 2015, and reporters said, he didn't have a chance, and he ended up winning the nomination by a landslide and winning the presidency. And here we are now in a third straight presidential cycle in which he is the front runner for the nomination, and this indictment has done nothing, Del, to change that fact.
I'll one-up you. If you were born at the turn of the century, the only three presidents that you have known, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. You are watching our continuing coverage of the arraignment of the former president of the United States. Stay with us.
Happy Take and Bake Tuesday!
Every Tuesday at Papa Murphy's, you can get any large pizza for just $12, which makes Tuesday the best day to bring home all your favorites.
We might have too many favorites.
Order now at papamurphys.com.
America's favorite strawberry yogurt.
For your favorite kid.
For my favorite daughter.
Real creamy, real fruit, real smooth. No wonder America loves it. Yoplait.
Ram season is here with the right trucks for every purpose, every path, and every soul. Now's the season to be a Ram.
Right now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP or 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
Fudge? Here you go. Well, that's us. Keebler Fudge Stripes. Magic is here.
Fox 13 and Mattress Warehouse, Utah want to honor your hometown hero. Scan this QR code to nominate a first responder who has gone above and beyond. We'll award a new hero each month with $500. Help us recognize and thank our hometown heroes.
Come on! Ooh, a milk waterfall! New dragon charms aren't what they seem. Just add milk and their colors will gleam.
Wow, I dragon.
I love me Lucky Charms. They're magically delicious.
It's Champion Windows' 70th anniversary sale, and we're giving the presents to you. Right now, get 40% off new windows, plus pay nothing for 18 months. And we're giving away $70,000 in our home makeover giveaway. 70 years of designing, building, installing, and guaranteeing Champion Comfort 365 windows direct from our factory to your home. Don't wait. Get 40% off windows today. Call or schedule your free estimate online 24/7 at getchampionwindows.com.
At Nutro, we believe in growing healthy dogs. Our nutritious food is made with high-quality, natural ingredients to help dogs live full and active lives. Let's grow healthy dogs.
$30,000 in life insurance coverage to help pay for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam, and you can be enrolled with just one phone call. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. Call the number on your screen now and see how a final expense life insurance plan can help you. There's no obligation. Call 800-915-6980. That's 800-915-6980.
Welcome back. You are watching Scripps News, continuing coverage of the arraignment of Donald John Trump, the former president of the United States. I'm Del Walters in Atlanta. Joining us now is Paul Pelletier. He is a former federal prosecutor at the Justice Department. Paul, thanks for being with us. I'm curious to get your take, because just moments after leaving the federal courthouse, the former president officially hitting the campaign trail, legally moving forward. How difficult is it going to be to try a case involving a man who got 74 million votes and is portraying himself as a victim, not an accused criminal?
You know, it's not the first time that a defendant who's indicted is going to use victim status as his defense, as one of his defenses possibly. So it's something that federal prosecutors face day in and day out. This is a little bit different, obviously, given who the defendant is. That being said, as you've seen happen today, a federal courthouse is a very different environment than a political pit stop. So I think there's some seriousness, some nobility in a federal courtroom, that there's a different set of rules in there. So the rules of evidence won't allow him to do too much victimization in the courthouse.
Paul, as you know, the old saying, the best day for a prosecutor is the day that the indictment is unsealed. In this case, the indictment was unsealed a few days ago, not today, when it is usually read during the formal arraignment. That being the case, has the prosecution, I guess, lost the momentum in this case, as the former president now is able to seize the victimhood ground that you know he's going to be working on?
Well, so I was a federal prosecutor in the Miami Federal Courthouse for almost 15 years. And I used to tell my people that I supervised that not only was the day of the indictment a good day for a prosecutor, every day thereafter was a good day for a prosecutor if you did good work in bringing the indictment forward. In this case, it's a solid indictment. All of this stuff we see that's going on in the public with campaign stops and things like that, that's not something that will translate in the courtroom. Now, it may affect a potential jury pool, but in the courtroom, there are rules of evidence. There's rules of procedure. It is a very different environment in the courtroom. So if the prosecutor has a great case, every day going forward is a good day. And in this case, when we look at the indictment, it appears to be an indictment that's built upon a base of very strong, almost impenetrable evidence. So I think that that's the mountain of truth that Trump is going to have to face. All of this stuff on the campaign trail does not get admitted in federal court. So I think in this case, the prosecutors have built a very strong case. And so long as the judge acts like an impartial judge, their job from here on out, not as easy, but is straightforward.
Paul, I've only got 30 seconds left before I lose you, but I'm curious. We spend so much time talking about whether a defendant can get a fair trial with a jury. In this case, do you think the prosecution, because you have spent so much time in Florida, can get a fair trial with a jury?
Yes, and that would be in the jury selection. So the jury selection is, even though in federal court it's not as detailed as it is in state court, during the jury selection process, the prosecutors are allowed to weed out those people who might have predilections either for or against Trump. So the jury selection process will weed out the people that won't be fair. That being said, I think the biggest hill the prosecutors have to climb here is getting a fair judge. Remember, this judge has shown in the past that she's inclined to lean towards favorable treatment towards Trump, who appointed her to the federal bench. So I think that, by the way, is the biggest hurdle the prosecutors need to climb here.
Former federal prosecutor Paul Pelletier. Paul, thank you very much. You're looking at the motorcade of the former president now arriving at the airport in Miami. That, of course, is the plane of the former president. On the campaign trail, he refers to it as Trump Force One. I want to go to our national security correspondent, Sasha Engber, who has been watching today's developments as well. And Sasha, for the people inside the courtroom, it is a case. For the people who you talk to on a daily basis, this is about protecting the nation's secrets. Specifically, I'm curious about which image from the indictment is ringing louder among those people that you call sources. Are they those boxes out in the open at Mar-a-Lago because they know that people in some instances put their lives on the line to get the information that is inside those boxes?
Absolutely, Del. Those images were so striking. These are documents that belong in secure rooms called SCIFs, sensitive compartmented information facilities. And instead they're sitting in a bathroom, sitting in a ballroom, skewed on the ground. According to the indictment, one of the documents that was just laying on the ground was a top secret document. Now, the prosecutors also allege from a former Trump attorney that Trump said, wouldn't it be better if we just told them we don't have anything here? I think that what's going through the heads of a lot of the people that I speak with is the fact that essentially this is not just about the pieces of paper laying in those boxes. These are valuable streams of intelligence that keep the country safe. These are people who are sharing information with the United States, who are risking their lives, could potentially be jailed or killed or vanished. There are U.S. military personnel who are serving overseas who depend on information being withheld so that they can do their mission safely. This could certainly damage relations with U.S. allies as well. And the question becomes, do Americans, after seeing what happens in this case, do they continue to take care of the protection of national defense information, what the special prosecutors are using as a umbrella term for all of the classified documents and even some non-classified documents that we're talking about going forward? Do people still take risks to help the United States and make sacrifices for this country? There was an itemized list of 31 documents here, and they are signed off on by the National Security Agency, by the CIA, by the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, by the State Department's Bureau of Intelligence, and other intelligence agencies. We saw part of a transcript of a recorded conversation that the former president had with others who did not have security clearances, detailing a potential attack on Iran and acknowledging that he did not declassify it. There was information about White House briefings on nuclear capabilities, military capabilities, and attacks of foreign countries, as well as U.S. potential vulnerabilities to attacks and U.S. nuclear weapons. And although a lot of the information was not disclosed to the public, there were indications, there were classified markings, such as TS for top secret, HCS for human control system, meaning human sources, no foreign, meaning no foreign government should be seeing this, and one important one, formerly restricted data. This means it was previously classified through the Atomic Energy Act, and it's related to the military's use of atomic weapons. This is material that the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense would declassify. The president would normally not be involved in that. And there is also conversation around what these documents really could be. One document, for example, document number 14, that says that it came out in January 2020, military options of a foreign country. Around that time, the United States had killed top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. The Iranians retaliated, so we can speculate about what some of this was. Del?
Amber for us live in Washington. Sasha, of course, you are raising the one question that may come out during the trial, which is why? Why would a former president want to keep so many classified documents, and why would he not want to turn them over to the archives if indeed that was the case? I want to go now to our White House correspondent, Haley Bull, who is live at the Trump National Golf Course in Bedminster, New Jersey. Haley, safe to say you got a preview just moments ago of the comments that the former president will be making on the ground where you are later this evening.
Del, that's exactly right. And he really kept in line with what we have heard from the former president to date in these comments. He said, and perhaps a preview of what's to come later during his stop in Miami, that this was a, quote, country in decline. And he followed that up on social media, thanking Miami for the, quote, warm welcome on such a sad day. Now, Trump is expected to be making his way from Miami to here into his golf club in Bedminster. This is typically where he spends his summer. And you can see behind us, the stage is set for what will be his first formal remarks since his arraignment in Miami. Now to date, since that indictment has been unsealed, we have seen Trump focus his criticism on the Biden administration, the Justice Department, and the special counsel, framing this as a, quote, political hit job. That's the term he used during his remarks in Georgia over the weekend, and as, quote, weaponization of the DOJ, with 2024 in the backdrop here. And it certainly stands to reason we could hear more of that tonight. Another focus we have heard from Trump since that indictment was unsealed is on the polling, both against President Biden and as well as his Republican challengers. Polling shows he leads solidly against some of those Republican challengers, though some of them, notably Nikki Haley and Chris Christie, have become more vocal in their criticisms of the former president. Now, the Trump campaign has looked to fundraise in the wake of this indictment, sending out notifications today and this evening. Trump is also expected to be holding a fundraiser here in Bedminster, Dow.
We're looking at the images coming out of Miami, Florida. Haley Bull, I thank you very much. That is the president's plane. He is now safely ensconced on board. His next stop will be where we just saw Haley Bull awaiting that speech tonight. A reminder to stay with Scripps News, because we will be listening to those remarks from Bedminster tonight and bring you all the relevant portions. He speaks tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. We will be right back. You are watching our historic coverage of the arraignment of Donald John Trump. Stay with us.
I remember when you get a whole meal for $5.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
Oh.
And every Tuesday at A&W, where single Papa Burger combos complete with fries and a root beer cost just $5. The good old days are here again. A complete meal for just $5. Tuesdays only at A&W.
This summer is the perfect time to join the Jeep community, where you can overcome more obstacles, bring the sun along for every ride, and electrify every adventure by going even further. Make this the summer you go anywhere and do anything. Make this the summer of Jeep.
During Jeep 4x4 season, well-qualified returning FCA lessees can lease the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited for $369 a month. Visit Jeep.com for details.
KFC's Wednesday Country Fried Steak Meal is a delicious value, complete with mashed potatoes with gravy, coleslaw, and a biscuit, all for the incredible price of just $5.99. Really, what's left to say? How about see you again next Wednesday? Country Fried Steak Meal, just $5.99, only at KFC.
We now join our regularly scheduled program already in progress.
Should. But the defendant said she was going to kind of be like a guarantor. She told you, don't worry about it, I'll take care of that. Well, sure enough, 2 of the tenants couldn't pay rent. The defendant asked you to put up that money, and you did. That was $1,378. And shortly after that, the defendant couldn't pay her rent, and you laid out $475 for that. 6 months later, the defendant and those 2 roommates moved out. They owed you that rent that you laid out for them, and you want her to return your security deposit, pay for her utility bills, and cover the 3 rents that you covered on her behalf. What you say, Ms. Diaz, is that there were a total of 11 people living in this 6-bedroom home, but when the plaintiff came in, she had 8 dogs, 1 baby, ultimately a boyfriend and his 1 dog. You agree that she did help you cover the $488 or so that you were short on your rent money, and you just say you can't believe, after everything you did for her, she's got the nerve, really, to come after you for this amount of money for all that you've done for her. So tell us your story. Did you really move in with 8 dogs?
I did, but that's irrelevant.
But where were they all living? In one room with you?
No,
in your bedroom?
The house had like 4 different entrances, so I had my own backyard with its own private entrance, and the dogs were gated. So when we were in the second house, because the home had 6 bedrooms instead of 4, we needed to rent to 2 additional people, which Robin had taken their security deposit. And she told me that if I covered the rent that was short in December, that if they paid it back to me, then it would be done. Right. But if they did not pay their balance, then she would guarantee that their balance would be repaid to me.
Did you represent to her that you would help take care of the rent?
I did, but I was supposed to go to New York for school. And COVID hit, and then I wasn't able to go to New York, and then I had to figure things out.
So you had to come back home?
But I went through a lot of hardships where I had to focus on my own survival and focus on eating, not going homeless.
Well, what do you do for a living?
I was a veterinary assistant.
But you're claiming you left to go to school, and when you came back, you had a 2-day notice to vacate. Your property was missing and strewn about. Is that true?
Our other roommate that's on the lease, the 3rd person, he pretty much was the one that told me that this is what the landlord said. The landlord didn't even attempt to...
So you never saw a document from the landlord saying that...
I didn't.
And so pursuant to that, you just said, oh, well, I guess I have to leave. But she only gave you the money on your representation that you would repay her.
Yes, the December rent, I meant to repay her. But once I moved out, I had my own rent to pay. And she was on my mind, but at the same time, I needed to pay my rent.
And what about the 2 tenants that she picked up the rent for? What'd you do with their security deposit?
Okay, the new tenant that I signed in and I said I was going to be responsible for, she wasn't able to pay November, so I used her security deposit to pay for it. And everybody was in agreement on this.
But she still had to lay out for another month that she wasn't paying.
That's December, and that's where I owe, and that's where I said I was going to pay back.
I'm in awe of your tenacity and position here. Judge Corriero?
So now let me see if I understand this. There actually were 2 tenancies here. First tenancy is when you answered an ad that Robin had put up. And at that time, you gave Robin a deposit of $500.
Yes.
Which carried over to the second tenancy.
Yes.
Is that right, Robin?
At the time, yes.
What exactly was your role in the first tenancy? Why did you advertise? Why didn't the landlord advertise?
I was the only one on the lease.
You were the only one on the lease. So now you go into the second house, you transfer the deposit. Now, everybody left that second tenancy, right? What happened to the security deposit?
The last person that originally was there was my mom, and she barely moved out 3 days ago. She's been waiting for the deposit to come back from the landlord.
I see. Judge Acker?
Why were you taking responsibility for these other renters?
Honestly, nobody wanted to take responsibility. Nobody wanted to do it, and...
But you didn't. You said, I'm going to be the one to talk about responsibility, but she was the one with the responsible wallet. I just don't see the equity. Did you ever think about saying, you know what, I'll give you $50, I'll give you $15 a month, I'll do something to try to make it right? Did you do anything?
The moment I got this job, the assistant technician, and I saw her again, I gave her $100. But by that time, I found out I was being sued.
In your text message, you say, Tracy, I literally can't pay for my own phone and food. I haven't forgotten you, I promise. So the reality is that your defense isn't what you say in your answer about it being offset. The reality is your defense says, I just didn't have it. I wanted to pay her back. I didn't have it.
Correct.
Thank you. I don't have anything else.
All right, we're going to retire you to deliberate. You're both excused at this time.
This courtroom is now in recess.
Hot Bench continues in a moment. Closed caption provided by
USAA? Yeah, they have awesome rates on coverage for our car, home, and stuff.
But they also have banking, plus advice, and other perks. So we know she's all set, because we've got USAA.
USAA, for the military community and their families.
On your period, sudden gushes happen. Say goodbye gush fears thanks to Always Ultra Thins with rapid dry technology that absorbs 2 times faster. Hello, clean and comfortable. Always fear no gush.
3 judges, 3 opinions, 1 verdict. Hot bench.
Have you noticed everything that follows no offense is offensive? Like, no offense, but you're overpaying for your wireless plan. See? Offensive.
No contract plans from Straight Talk for as low as $35 a month, all on a 5G network. Straight Talk, available at Walmart.
When it comes to your hair, ingredients matter. That's why Herbal Essences is packed with naturally derived plant ingredients you love. And none of the stuff you don't. Our sulfate-free collections smell incredible. And leave your hair touchably soft and smooth. Herbal Essences.
Can an oven-roasted turkey breast pack so much succulent flavor that the mere glimpse of it induces turkey sandwich daydreams? If it's Hillshire Farm, oh, hell yeah.
I remember when you get a whole meal for $5.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
Oh.
And every Tuesday at A&W, where single Papa Burger combos complete with fries and a root beer cost just $5. The good old days are here again. A complete meal for just $5. Tuesdays only at A&W.
Ram season is here with the right trucks for every purpose, every path, and every soul. Now's the season to be a Ram.
Right now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP or 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
KFC's Wednesday Country Fried Steak Meal is a delicious value, complete with mashed potatoes with gravy, coleslaw, and a biscuit, all for the incredible price of just $5.99. Really, what's left to say? How about see you again next Wednesday? Country Fried Steak Meal just $5.99, only at KFC.
Want justice? Go to hotbench.tv. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Well, you know, if you want to put a picture on No Good Deed Goes Unpunished, you could use the plaintiff's photograph for that. I mean, every one of the tenants, she certainly was able to keep them all afloat, and then to have somebody turn around and say, well, really, I had other obligations and you're not one of them is awful. So I don't see how we can't find the defendant not responsible. She definitely owes the money that she's asked for, and that's $2,885 minus $100. If you believe her that she paid her $100.
Yeah, I would join you with respect to that.
Yeah, there's no evidence that the security deposit's being retained or was retained by the landlord because of anything the plaintiff did.
Right.
So I think that she's entitled to that. Yep. I would join you both. The last time I checked, I have other things to do is not a valid legal defense. So I'm with you.
This courtroom is again in session.
Thank you, Sonia. Well, apparently you have enough love for 8 dogs, a boyfriend, that person's dog, and 11 people, because it looks to me here, and it looks to all of us when we reviewed the evidence, that you were helping keep afloat almost every one of the tenants at that apartment, all with a promise to repay, being backed by Ms. Diaz, your promise to step up if they didn't. We are unanimous. We did subtract that $100 from the monies that you laid out based on her representation that she would pay not only for herself, but for the others as well. So it's a unanimous verdict in your favor, $2,785. Use it well.
Thank you, Your Honors.
This courtroom is now in recess.
Hot Bench continues in a moment. And on the next Hot Bench.
This here is a weft.
At least one judge, Judge Corriero, have never had hair extensions.
Not recently.
I have a demonstration of a sewn in.
I'm not going to put that on.
Hot Bench.
I believe that they made a just decision.
Yes, it was very sad. The family tricked the landlord into believing that she was leaving, and they threw all her belongings out on the front porch.
It didn't go well.
Robin has a good heart, and I hope that we can get past this situation.
Honestly, in that house, like, she was my friend.
We want our fresh produce to meet your expectations, which is why we do up to a 27-point inspection to check for things like color and scarring. Because when it comes to fresh, higher standards mean fresher produce. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
This summer is the perfect time to join the Jeep community, where you can overcome more obstacles, bring the sun along for every ride, and electrify every adventure by going even further. Make this the summer you go anywhere and do anything. Make this the summer of Jeep.
During Jeep 4x4 season, well-qualified returning FCA lessees can lease the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited for $369 a month. Visit Jeep.com for details.
The only way Papa John's makes a big, extra-large New York-style pizza like this is by hand-stretching that Papa John's fresh, never-frozen dough. Get the extra-large New York-style pizza from Papa John's.
It's the used RV blowout sale, sign and drive event at the Provotown Center this holiday weekend. This Wednesday through Monday, closed Sunday. Pick out your RV, sign, and take it away. Free admission, free parking. Go to UtahRVEvent.com. Hosted by Paris RV.
When you download the Smith's app, you have easy access to savings every day and get personalized coupons sent straight to your phone. Save big today when you download the Smith's app. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
Political reporter Ben Winslow. Weekdays on Fox 13 News. Bob Evans. Weeknights on Fox 13 News at 9.
What kind of dog were you walking?
An American Bull Mastiff.
That's a lot of power.
This teen tried her best to hang on.
When they got to the sidewalk, the girl fell. The dog at that point bit my dog.
But it's not so simple for mom and dad.
But, Your Honor, if I may say, though, don't try to make excuses. That's the wrong thing to do.
Your Honor, what you're losing is the character of our plaintiff. He has a flawed character as a dog owner.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Stuart Bernstein and his son Joseph Bernstein are suing their neighbors, Cheryl and Troy Allen, for vet bills after the defendant's American Bulldog attacked their dog.
Order. All rise.
Now, it's case number 570 on the count in the matter of Bernstein versus Allen.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Who was walking the dog?
I was.
Were you there?
Not for the walking of the dog.
Then it's not particularly relevant. Why don't you have a seat? Mr. Bernstein, you were walking a dog.
Yes, I was.
I think you said it was your wife's service dog?
Correct.
What kind of a dog is it?
It's a Belgian Malinois.
You have a picture of that dog?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Never heard of it.
That will be this dog right there.
Okay, let me finish.
And there's a different, same dog? Same dog.
So it's a big dog.
57 pounds.
And Mr. and Mrs. Allen, you weren't there when this incident happened, is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
But your two girls were walking your two dogs.
Yes.
So you can sit down and your girls can step up. Tell me your name.
Chloe.
And yours?
Alexi.
And what kind of dog were you walking?
An American Bull Mastiff.
Do you have a picture of that dog?
This one.
Thank you. Okay, and that's a pretty big dog. How much does that dog weigh?
I'm not quite sure, Your Honor.
95 pounds.
Okay. And what kind of a dog were you walking?
American Bulldog. American Bulldog.
And how much does that dog weigh?
About 42 pounds.
Okay. Do you girls walk these dogs regularly?
Yes.
Do you?
I'm her cousin, so I don't.
You don't walk the dog regularly?
No.
Okay. You walk which dog regularly?
Both of them.
Yourself?
Yes.
That's a lot of power. Okay. So this incident happened, and it was an incident where you claimed that the defendant's dogs bit yours. It happened on what date?
January 27th of this year.
And is that your chart?
Yes.
Walk over to the chart and tell me, as you're going over there, what time of the day did this happen?
This happened at 7:35 p.m.
And where do you live?
Los Angeles.
So in January at 7:35, it's getting dark out.
Yes.
Okay, so show me where you were.
I walked out of the back gate of our building. I crossed the 4 lanes of traffic over to the side where the LAPD Topanga station is, and I was standing here. Oh, the dog was, sniffing around and doing her business.
You crossed the street?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you walk the dog on your side of the street?
Because on this side of the street, on the police station side, there is dirt and there is grass and shrubbery around.
And on your side?
And on this side, there is a concrete sidewalk and then a car dealership.
Okay. And?
I crossed over. The dog was sniffing around, doing her business. I looked back. I saw, looking back at our building, I saw the 2 girls with 2 dogs on the 2nd floor, waiting by the elevator area.
Oh, is your building an open area?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And that is a picture looking backwards towards the back gate.
Do you, Chloe?
Yes.
Do you and Mr. Bernstein live in the same building?
We do.
Before you continue, Chloe.
Yes.
When you walk your dogs.
Yes.
Do you also cross over the street?
I do.
For the same reason that Mr. Bernstein says he does?
Yes.
That's more grass and
yes.
More interesting messages for your dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you live on the 2nd floor?
Yes.
Okay, so you say you saw
Right. From
girls.
looking backwards, I saw them on the 2nd floor landing, waiting by the elevator.
Go ahead.
At that point, the dog was still doing her business. I hear the back gate slam. And when I turn around to see what is now happening, their dog is pulling the girl across the street.
Which dog? The larger one?
The larger one. Only one dog engaged, which was the larger one. The smaller one did not engage at all.
Okay. So, Alexi, the dog that you were walking stayed with you?
Yes.
I want you to walk over to there, Alexi. Walk over there to that chart. Now, I want you to point where you and Chloe came out. You came out the gate.
Yes.
Your dog remained with you?
Yes.
On which side of the street?
We both walked together.
No, just tell me. I'm talking about your dog. Your dog was where? There. And where was Chloe? Did you and Chloe remain on that side of the street?
No.
No. Chloe went where?
Cross the street.
Did you cross at the same time as Chloe did?
Yes.
So you both walked together across the street to where Mr. Bernstein was with his dog?
Yes.
Okay, now you can go over there. Chloe, had your dog ever had a negative interaction with Mr. Bernstein's dog before?
No, Your Honor.
This was the first time?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Bernstein, let's go. What happened next?
When I heard the back gate slam, I turned around. The larger dog was already pulling the girl, holding him across the street. When they got to the sidewalk, the girl fell. The dog at that point bit my dog on the left side. I walked the dog on the left side.
So she fell?
Onto the floor, on the sidewalk.
Now, your mother says that you fell, Chloe.
Yes.
I just read your mother's answer.
Yes.
She said that you fell on the gravel.
Yes.
Step back, Mr. Bernstein. I want you to go over and show me on what gravel did you fall?
I fell about right here.
Right near where Mr. Bernstein was?
His dog was not here.
Where was his dog?
They were already in the middle of the sidewalk.
Okay, but that's not, I looked at the sidewalk. That's not far. We're not talking about from here to the end of the road. We're talking about a gravel path. I want to know why, Chloe, go back. Go back. You walk your dog all the time, and I assume that you don't fall all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Bernstein's dog, according to you, was not near the gravel.
Right.
So I want you to tell me how come you fell.
Because when I was running to get across the street, I heard his dog barking. And it was dark, and there was trees, and I was behind it. So once I looked over, I saw his dog, and I immediately pulled my dog the opposite way, which is what made me slip in the gravel, and I fell down. And then I was pulling my dog the other way, and once I was already on the ground, they were barking at each other, and I'd never let go of my dog, and I kept pulling my dog more and more until I could eventually get myself up.
You didn't tell me you were running across the street, Alexi.
Yeah.
Were you running across the street?
Yes.
Why, Alexi?
Because they had to go pee, and they run when they have to go pee really bad.
So you were both running across the street?
Yes.
When you were running across the street, did you hear another dog bark?
Yes.
And you kept running across the street?
Yes. To get across. So to avoid cars.
Okay. Do you have picture of the injury to your dog?
Yes, I do.
Chloe, was your dog injured?
My dog got bit in the mouth and was bleeding.
Did you take the dog to the vet?
We did not.
Do you have any photographs of the dog
No.
bite? Can I see your vet bills, please?
It's in the phone.
Yes. You weren't there.
No, but I have experienced his dog, and I just would like to share the history, if I may.
Not necessary.
Okay.
Say Your Honor, Chloe.
What?
I just want to make clear that my dog was not pulling me across the street. Us two and the two dogs were running to get across the street. Once we got across the street is when we seen the dog.
Well, no, that's not what Alexi said. She said that you heard the dog barking.
Right,
You heard
we
a
heard
dog
it.
barking.
We heard the dog barking.
You heard a dog barking across the street.
Right.
And if you have two large dogs, you have to exercise better judgment. You listen. You have to exercise better judgment. If it was dark and you couldn't see the dog, I know the difference between, I have dogs, between the bark of a little tiny dog, which is usually a high-pitched voice, and a bigger dog. So if you heard a dog barking across the street, I wouldn't run across the street. I would let that dog move a little further away.
Right.
And you did, as a matter of fact, lose control of your dog, even though you say you held on to the leash. You lost control when you fell. You have no photographs of your dog being injured, and I have photographs of a serious bite on his dog's leg. And you weren't there.
No, I was
Wasn't
not.
there.
And,
Right.
and no, I was not. But Your Honor, if I may say, though.
No, you can't.
Okay.
What you have to say is not relevant.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You lost control of your dog for a minute. It's not a tragedy, but don't try to make excuses.
Not an excuse.
What?
We were not waiting at the elevator. We don't ever take our dogs in the elevator. We went straight down the stairs.
What difference does it make?
And later today,
I'm telling you, the tree looks as if it's dead. You might want to have it cut down. I can't imagine one of my neighbors coming into my house and cutting down one of my trees. I just can't imagine that kind of scenario. What gives you the right to do that?
Fudge? Here you go. Well, that's us. Keebler Fudge Stripes. Magic is here.
Introducing Instant Cash Offer, the quick, easy process you can trust. Instant Cash Offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy your car with no obligation. Then choose a dealer, schedule a time, and drive away with confidence.
It's not subtle. Now you can give them what they've always wanted. Real food for dogs. Caesar Wholesome Bowls and Simply Crafted. Caesar, love them back.
Hanson's knows what your home means to you. It's where you feel safe, comfortable, protected, and of course, no other place provides you with as much joy. That's why our durable, energy-efficient, and weather-resistant windows, roofing, siding, and gutters, as well as our tubs and showers, are all backed by our lifetime guarantee. So you can feel happy in your home for years to come. With professional installation and thousands of 5-star reviews, we're your trusted home improvement expert, exceeding homeowners' expectations for over 30 years. Enjoy no interest and no payments for 2 years on high-quality craftsmanship you can count on. Or get 40% off installation. From windows to roofing to siding to gutters to tubs and showers, no one's got you covered like we do.
Call 1-800-HANSONS. Get it done.
The new season is bringing new salads to Arctic Circle. Try one of our new grilled or crispy chicken BLT salads, or try a classic with our original taco salad in a handmade tortilla shell. Arctic Circle, where the good stuff is.
closed captioning is provided by
Dupixent helps you do more with less asthma and can help you breathe better in as little as 2 weeks. Dupixent is an add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma that's not for sudden breathing problems. Dupixent can cause allergic reactions that can be severe. Get help right away if you have rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, tingling or numbness in your limbs. Tell your doctor about new or worsening joint aches and pain or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines, including steroids, without talking to your doctor. Ask your specialist about Dupixent.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Stuart Bernstein says an American bulldog owned by neighbors Cheryl and Troy Allen attacked his dog while they were walking in the neighborhood.
Okay, if you weren't there.
The gentleman says he saw them on the second floor.
Mind you,
saw them coming down. He saw them. They didn't see him.
You're not
he should be responsible
you're
to
not,
pull his dog away as well.
Listen to me. Put your hand down. Put your hand down. What you're telling me is that Mr. Bernstein, who sees two people on the second floor of the building, that's what he said.
Here's the door slam.
Just a second. Put your hand down. You lost control of your dog for a minute. Your dog bit him on the leg. It's not a tragedy, but don't try to make excuses.
No,
that's the wrong
excuse.
thing to do.
Not an excuse.
What?
I don't have an excuse, but I just want to say we were not waiting at the elevator because we don't ever take our dogs in an elevator. We went straight down the stairs.
What difference does it make?
So I don't know.
What difference does it make?
Your Honor, what you're losing is the character of our plaintiff. He has a flawed character as a dog owner.
Okay.
His dog is very aggressive.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $480. You lost control of your dog for a second when you fell.
Right, but I never let go of my dog. And he never helped me while I was on the floor. He didn't pull his
We're
dog.
finished. Thank you.
Why is our excused? You may step out.
He didn't take any ownership of his dog nor responsibility to try and avoid the confrontation.
I think the judge ruled correctly.
He's a very, very aggressive dog. He's always on his hind legs.
There is no truth to any history or anything of that nature.
We'll just go our separate way and enjoy our lives.
Do the right thing.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Coppins versus Bennett. Step forward.
James Coppins is suing his neighbor, Brian Bennett, for cutting down 3 of his trees.
Mr. Coppins, you have a rental property that's located where, sir?
It's located in Orlando, Florida, in Altamont Springs, Florida.
How long have you owned the property?
I've owned that property 20 years.
Did you ever live there yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Until when?
Until about 8 or 10 years ago.
This is a single-family dwelling.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant, Mr. Bennett, has lived as your next-door neighbor for how long, Mr. Bennett?
2015, Your Honor.
There were 3 mature trees on your property. And, Mr. Bennett, you acknowledge that you cut down those trees. You cut them down on his property to the stump. Is that correct?
I did have a tree company do that, yes, ma'am.
When did you have the company do that?
I got work September 8th of 2016, Your Honor.
Do you have photographs of those trees?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at them. And it goes without saying, Mr. Bennett, that you did not have permission to cut down the trees.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is this a tree that was cut down by the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any photographs of the trees before they were cut down?
No, ma'am, but the last photographs in there are of a similar tree, similar in size.
I'm not interested in a similar tree. So the answer is you don't?
No.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bennett, now it's your responsibility so that there is no question that you were on his property through your agent without his permission and destroyed property on his property without his permission. The onus is upon you, sir, to show me evidence that would render a verdict in your favor, because it's clear you're not permitted to go on somebody else's property. You're not permitted to destroy somebody else's property unless there are some exigent circumstances that you'll have to convince me about. And I understand that there was supposed to be bad weather coming to the state of Florida, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All is in your court.
Your Honor, on September 8th or August 27th.
On August 27th?
Yes, ma'am. We had a hurricane that was coming through. It was being announced. The governor did announce there was a hurricane, and it lasted up to September 3rd. During that time is when I did have the trees cut off. The canopies of the trees.
Just a second. Before September 8th?
Yes, before the hurricanes were on their way.
And what effort did you make to contact Mr. Coppins prior to having the trees cut down?
Ma'am, we moved in. I did not know who he was. I went and knocked on the door.
So the answer is you made no effort
yes, I did,
to
Your
contact him. I mean, there is a registry who owns the property. If you went to town records, you could have found out who owned the property.
Yes, ma'am. I went and knocked on the neighbor's door. His name is Dan. I asked Dan about the trees. I did not at the time know. Again, I just moved in, did not know who the owner was. I assumed he was.
2015
we
is
moved
when
in
you moved in.
November 2015. Yes, ma'am.
So you were there a year before, almost a year.
Almost, yes, ma'am.
10 months. Well, in 10 months' time, there's bad weather in Florida. You could have found out if these trees presented some sort of a risk to your home. Do you have photographs showing me how these trees presented a risk to your home?
I do not.
The answer is yes or no.
No, ma'am.
Well, that's a problem for you, Mr. Bennett. You can't do that. You have no right to do that, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I had a survey from when we moved in. Both those trees were on our property line.
No, you said they were partially on your property and partially on his.
Yes, ma'am.
What? So far, you're not losing, so what do you want to bother me for?
When moderate to severe ulcerative colitis keeps flaring, put it in check with Rinvoq, a once-daily pill.
When UC got unpredictable, I got rapid symptom relief with Rinvoq and left bathroom urgency behind. Check.
When UC got in my way, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when my gastro saw damage,
Rinvoq helped visibly repair the colon lining. Check. Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and a chance to visibly repair the colon lining. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers, including lymphoma and skin cancer, death, heart attack, stroke, and tears in the stomach or intestines occurred. People 50 and older with at least one heart disease risk factor have higher risks. Don't take if allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Put UC in check and keep it there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastro about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Ahoy! Join Fox 13 for Family Fun Night at the Gallivan Center for a free night of fun under the sea. From a mermaid bounce house and face painting to a live pirate band, there's a whole sea of activities to explore. If the guppies get the munchies, there's delicious food for kids and parents alike. And see the Fox 13 Weather Beast and meet your favorite Fox 13 personalities. Come make a splash at the Gallivan Center. Thursday, June 22nd from 5 to 7. From Fox 13.
I remember when you get a whole meal for $5.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
Oh.
And every Tuesday at A&W, where single Papa Burger combos complete with fries and a root beer cost just $5. The good old days are here again. A complete meal for just $5. Tuesdays only at A&W.
If you were just in a car crash, the insurance company could already be calling you. Don't talk to them, talk to us. The call is free, and getting a lawyer could mean the difference between going into debt or getting the settlement you deserve. Don't leave money on the table. Pick up the phone and call us right now. Call Esquire Law, 800-830-4144. 800-830-4144.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants, we believe in the healing power of a new smile, the way it makes you look and feel, the way a smile lights up a room, so people can see the best version of you, which is why we make new smiles affordable for everyone, so you don't need to wait another day to get your smile back. Scan the QR code to learn more, or visit affordabledentures.com.
Go ahead and smile.
KFC's Wednesday Country Fried Steak Meal is a delicious value, complete with mashed potatoes with gravy, coleslaw, and a biscuit, all for the incredible price of just $5.99. Really, what's left to say? How about see you again next Wednesday? Country Fried Steak Meal, just $5.99, only at KFC.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
James Coppin says neighbor Brian Bennett cut down 3 trees that were on his property.
Okay, if trees are overhanging your property, you have a right to trim the trees to your tree line. That you have a right to do, because if they're overhanging a fence and if your house is placed at risk as a result of that, you have a right to do that. And if you think that the tree itself poses a potential risk to your house, you find out who the owner is of the house, and you contact them and you say to them, listen, there's a tree in your backyard. The canopy of your trees is hanging over a house. I'm going to have it trimmed, but I'm telling you the tree looks as if it's dead. It looks as if it's compromised. It looks as if something might happen with it. I think you might want to have it cut down or trimmed or something. I can't imagine one of my neighbors coming into my house and cutting down one of my trees. I just can't imagine that kind of scenario. What gives you the right to do that?
Your Honor, I have a survey from when we did move in, but the survey shows that the trees are split. Half of the trees are on his property, the other half are on my property. I do have...
Just a second. So you have a survey that, according to you...
Yes, ma'am.
Just according to you, shows that the trees have grown. Of course, they're bigger now.
Yes, ma'am.
But that part of the trunk of the tree was on your property.
Yes, ma'am.
But you didn't cut just your part.
What happens, ma'am, is when the trees grew, the canopies themselves were bending onto my side of the property. Before I had moved into the property had already sustained damage from the trees themselves. A gentleman was going through when the governor announced that we have a hurricane coming through. You need to get your properties together before it came in. This was in August. So the tree company came through. They were knocking on people's door. I said, yeah, I've got 2 trees. So he said, you can't.
No, you don't have 2 trees. 3, actually. There were 3 trees that were cut down.
Yes.
According to you, you have a piece of 3 trees.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by
Head & Shoulders is launching something huge. The bare minimum. Anti-dandruff shampoo made with only 9 ingredients, no sulfate, silicones, or dyes, and packaged with 45% less plastic, giving you outstanding dandruff protection and leaving hair beautiful and moisturized. Major dandruff protection, minimal ingredients. Job done. New Head & Shoulders Bare.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too. Jardiance may cause serious side effects, including ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. And don't take it if you're on dialysis. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with the big story to tell.
At Smith's, we want our fresh produce to meet your expectations, which is why we do up to a 27-point inspection to check for things like color and scarring. Because when it comes to fresh, higher standards mean fresher produce. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
Life's better when you're under our roof. Because when you feel totally protected, you can enjoy the dreams you've worked so hard to achieve. Save up to 27% when you bundle home, auto, and life. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
The WNBA is on Ion. Friday nights, we shine a light on the brightest stars in the game. Bullseye, baby. This week, it's a showdown in the Capitol as Taurasi and the Mercury take on Elena and the Mystics. Then we're off to LA as Collier and the Lynx, unstoppable, battle NECA and the Sparks. She got it! Mercury Mystics, followed by Lynx Sparks. Coverage starts Friday night at 8. Check local listings for games in your area. Only on Ion.
How white do you think your teeth really are? Let's try the tissue test. Oof, still yellow. Whitening toothpaste can only do so much.
There's Toothpaste White and there's Crest 3D White Strips White. They whiten like a $400 professional treatment.
So much whiter.
Crest.
Are you taking the right multivitamin? With New Chapter, you get excellent quality, organic ingredients, and fermentation.
Fermentation?
Yes, feel the difference with 20+ nutrients your body can absorb so you can do you. Learn more at newchapter.com. When you download the Smiths app, you have easy access to savings every day and get personalized coupons sent straight to your phone. Save big today when you download the Smiths app. Smiths, fresh for everyone.
Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Go ahead.
I had a survey from when we moved in that told us where the property line was. It had the trees. Both those trees were on our property line.
No. You said they were partially on your property and partially on his.
Yes, ma'am.
Then what you have to do is you have to call him up and what? So far you're not losing, so what do you want to bother me for?
I have a diagram of the trees where they were located.
Whatever. He has no right to do that. He has no right to trespass on your property and cut down trees that are partially on your property without consulting you. He can't do that. How many trees did you cut down, Mr. Bennett?
The tree company.
How many trees?
2, ma'am.
2, not 3.
Yes, ma'am. 2.
Just 2. Were these trees alive or were they dead?
Well, they were alive, ma'am.
You have information to demonstrate to the contrary that they were dead trees?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount he's requesting $5,000 because he can't replace those trees. We're done. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
My opinion's the only one that counts.
It's fine, and I hope this is over with.
I'm very happy.
I just hope this is over with, and we can try to get along.
He sprayed me with a hose.
He won't leave the property.
This man is obviously very angry.
I hope we can get along.
I want him to stay away.
Thanks, Utah, for making Fox 13 News the #1 source for local news on YouTube. Subscribe today to get the news that matters to you.
Let me see what I'm getting from this story.
A couple's life becomes a sad drama.
Child Protective Services was going to take the children away from you and your husband because of drugs. Both of them are drug involved. That what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
But her kid's father chose a different path.
Were the children ever removed from your custody by Child Protective Services?
No, they were not.
I'm beginning to see a pattern here.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Nancy Menacci and daughter-in-law Carmela claim Carmela's ex-husband, Joshua Mendez, fraudulently claimed his kids as dependents.
Order. All rise. It's case number 90 on the calendar in the matter of Menacci versus Mendez.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Menacci, this is your daughter-in-law.
Yes, it is.
She's married to your son. Would that be this gentleman over here?
Stephen, yes.
And Mr. Menendez, he is a person with whom your daughter-in-law has 2 sons.
Yes.
Subsequent to those 2 sons being born, your daughter-in-law married your son, and they have 1 child together.
Yes.
A little girl. At some point in October of last year, you received a phone call that Child Protective Services were going to take the children away from your daughter-in-law, and I assume your son as well.
Yes.
Because of a drug problem.
Right.
And you were asked to step in and take custody of the 3 children.
Right.
Which you did for a period of time.
I still have 2 of them.
Which 2?
I have the baby and the...
Which baby?
Their child together. And then I have the 8-year-old boy, which is their child. The 10-year-old boy became totally unmanageable for me. He was aggressive to the other children. He ended up in a behavioral health unit for 10 days. And January, I had to give him up. He's now in a therapeutic foster home.
So in 2016, the Two boys were with you October, November, and December. When in October did they come?
October 10th.
And what you're complaining about is that Mr. Menendez claimed the two boys on his tax returns for the year 2016.
Right, and I don't know why, because didn't see them in that year. He has not paid a penny.
I don't know why either. Stop moving pages. Except that you only had the children for a little more than 2.5 months in the year 2016.
Right.
I don't know who supported them prior to that time in 2016. Let's find out.
My son and Carmela.
Let's find out.
Oh, okay.
Where were you working in 2016?
I was working as a personal care assistant.
Full-time or part-time?
I was part-time.
Did you receive any welfare?
Food stamps, yes.
Did you receive any subsidized housing from?
No.
So only food stamps for whom?
For me, my husband, and the children.
And what kind of work did your husband do in all of 2016?
He was the manager of Valvoline, instant oil change.
Prior to 2016, who claimed the two boys on their tax returns?
I did.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, is there currently a child support order that you are currently paying?
Yes.
How much?
$50 a week.
And when did that go into effect?
2016.
Not that he's paid
Shut
one
up.
penny of it.
Just a second.
Okay.
Right now, part of that money is being subsidized by the government.
Right.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
So, prior to 2016, what was your support order?
We didn't have one because I had custody of the kids prior to 2016.
In what year did you cease to have custody of the children?
2016.
What month?
June.
What you're telling me is January, February, March, April, May. Those 5 months, the two boys lived with you.
Two boys didn't live with me at that time now because we're going back and forth with court in Connecticut.
Who did they live with?
Carmela.
So in January, February, March, April, and May, the boys lived with their mother.
Yeah.
That would be a yes. And you had no support order.
Correct.
In 2015, where did the boys live?
With me at my aunt's house.
Is that all of 2015?
Yes.
Is that correct?
No.
In what months did the two boys live with Mr. Mendez and his aunt?
January 2015 to June 2015.
So for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And what about in 2014?
He had them.
He had them full time?
Yes.
And when did you and Mr. Mendez physically separate?
Like divorced, you mean?
Physically separate.
Physically
You're
separate?
not divorced. You were never married. I'm trying to go back. So 2014, Mr. Mendez had physical custody of the children. He had physical custody of the children also the first half of 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 2013, who did they live with?
Josh.
With their father.
Yes.
I'm beginning to see a pattern here. Now they came to live with you in 2016, you and your new husband,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And in 2016, because some genius judge in the state of Connecticut gave you custody, Child Protective Services was going to take the children away from you and your husband because of drugs. That what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in 2013, 14, and half of 2015, were the children ever removed from your custody by Child Protective Services?
No, they were not.
So let me see what I'm getting from this story. What I'm getting from this story is you got married to him when?
September 2016.
And all of a sudden, from somebody who had no custody of her children for at least 2.5 years, and there were no problems, 0 problems with Child Protective Services and their father, don't shake your head. There were 0 problems with Child Protective Services in September of 2016. Your daughter-in-law marries your son. And in October of 2016, Child Protective Services is going to remove all the children because both of them are drug involved. When was the baby born? When was the baby born?
July 2015.
Were you living with him at the time?
Yes.
Was the child born drug addicted?
No.
Who do you live with now?
I live with my husband.
Who else?
And a roommate.
Now, Mr. Mendez, I just have a couple of more questions before I throw them both out.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Did you voluntarily relinquish your 2 sons to their mother?
Didn't want to do it, but due to being homeless at the time and not actually having a place to stay, I thought it was a good idea, which was my stupidity, thinking that the kids can stay with their mother until then, not knowing that the child services involvement was going to be called by herself. She called on her own self, and she had him removed from her care. Like, if I had a place to stay, I would take them, and I would not have
Who are you living with now?
Currently, I'm living with my girlfriend.
What, it became too much of a burden for you to take care of the boys if you're living with your girlfriend?
Due to child services and all the allegations that are going on, I have to go through their process.
Allegations with regard to whom?
What Miss Minacci is saying about me, like Carmela.
She wasn't saying anything about you in 2014 and 2015.
Or 2011, back
or
to then.
2011 when the kids were living with you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now. Well, somebody in Connecticut should take a real close look at this case. As an old family court judge, there's a lot more here than meets the eye, and I certainly believe your 10-year-old would do better with a non-drug involved parent than would do in a therapeutic foster care situation in the state of Connecticut. Now,
And as
Mr.
of
Mendez,
my
have you visited your 8-year-old boy?
I have seen him last month. He actually came to my job, and I went bowling with both my kids.
Who brought him to your job?
Child Services. And also, from my understanding, I got a call from Child Services last week, which stated that Miss Nancy Minacci can no longer care for my 8-year-old, that he was supposed to be picked up yesterday.
I still have him.
Your case is dismissed. You have no claim against him. Zero. Nothing. Nada. Very sad. Very, very sad. Did the courts in Connecticut assign a lawyer to you?
I haven't had one yet, no.
Your Honor.
What?
The facts of the case are wrong.
Judge, listen to me. These are the basic facts of the case, Ms. Minacci. Basic. That at least going as far back as 2014, he says before, these two children lived with their father and an aunt.
They only lived with the father and the aunt for a couple of months.
No, that's not what she said. She said that they lived with their father.
Him, but he just moved to Connecticut and stayed with his aunt.
Oh, well, I don't care, but they lived with their father, not with their mother.
And they came to our house in 2015. Not 16. So they lived with us for over a year. Carmela and Stephen and me, my husband, and the kids.
They lived with you for over a year while they were drug involved?
No, they were not drug involved at that time. I would not have that in my house.
That was 2016, Your Honor.
They had moved out April of last year.
Listen to me. Your case is dismissed. We're done. This is a family court matter, and somebody should take very, very close look at who is going to be the most appropriate parent to raise these two little boys who are 8 and 10 years old and probably shouldn't be separated. It sounds to me as if most of their lives they lived with their father, who I see visually actually no evidence of drug involvement. I can't say the same on this side.
Well,
we're done.
Parties are excused. May step out.
The facts of the case were not who's the better parent. None of them are the better parents.
I did support the kids for many years before this whole situation happened.
And he has not seen them more than 5 times. I've texted him.
I've been going back and forth with courts and stuff like that, trying to figure out.
I've asked him to be involved in their lives.
Where the kids can stay. Been trying to get them in my custody.
They had a court case in October that he didn't even show up to, that he wanted to get custody.
I'm the only one with parental rights to my kids. The judge just relinquished all of her rights to all 4 of her kids.
It's very heartbreaking. I'm 61 years old today, and I shouldn't be raising small children.
It has affected them very badly.
I'm a victim in this case. My kids are too.
It makes me feel like crap.
I hope that when I get back home, I can actually get the kids back in my care so I can actually take care of them the way that they're supposed to.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Wall versus Franks, step forward.
Christina Wall is suing Kayla Franks for unpaid babysitting fees and the value of property.
Miss Wall, you and the defendant knew each other. I don't know how.
Yes, I met her through her brother.
And there came a time when you started to babysit for her children.
Yes.
How old are her children?
They were 2 and 4.
And she was babysitting for you because you were returning to work?
Yes.
What kind of work were you returning to?
I had gotten a job at Subway.
Full-time or part-time?
Started off part-time.
And then went to full-time?
Yep.
And how long was it part-time?
Probably the first month and a half was part-time, and then it went up to full-time.
And how much were you paid an hour?
$10.
And did Subway pay you every week?
Every 2 weeks, yes.
Every 2 weeks. But they paid you?
Yes.
Because you worked?
Yes.
Well, Miss Wall was the person that you had hired to take care of your children, to allow you to work.
Yes.
And when did she start taking care of your children?
She watched them starting August 3rd.
So you were working part-time?
Yes.
And when did she watch them until?
October 8th was her last day.
And in the month of September, you were working full-time?
Yes.
And the beginning of October, you were working full-time?
Yes.
And you paid her $0?
Not right. not correct.
How much did you pay her?
I paid her whatever she told me to every 2 weeks.
So is what you're telling me you paid her every 2 weeks? Because you didn't say that in your answer, by the way, that you gave her any money. That would have been an interesting thing for you to put in your answer, that I did pay her every 2 weeks as she requested. You didn't put that in your answer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your mom's getting paid by the state.
Nope, I was paying her as well.
No, that's wonderful. How much do you pay her out of your checks?
She charges $250 every 2 weeks.
Then my question is, why didn't you pay Miss Wall, is the question.
Craving Rock My World bold flavors only Taco Time can deliver? Congratulations! Crushing your craving just got easier. Taco Time, online and on demand. Dream delivered. You're welcome. When you know what you want, anytime.
When people hear how much Esquire Law has gotten for their clients, their reactions are priceless.
Oh, yeah!
All right.
Cha-ching!
That's what I'm talking about.
Call Esquire Law.
You've got to be kidding me.
Wow. I told you.
Don't trust the insurance company to give you a fair offer. Call Esquire Law and let them fight for the real number. Car wreck? Call Esquire Law. 800-830-4144.
Fudge? Here you go. Well, that's us. Keebler Fudge Stripes. Magic is here.
I mean, enough with the cold feet. It's time to move this along. Take the next step.
I hear you. You're tired of waiting.
Yes.
But at Eyeglass World, you don't have to wait. They're not like all those other guys. They make your glasses right there in their same-day lab.
No waiting?
Mm-mm.
Do you mind if I go?
You mind if I finish your cannoli?
It's all yours, bud.
Bye.
Get 2 pairs of glasses for $89 the same day at Eyeglass World, the world's best way to buy glasses.
At Nutro, we believe in growing healthy dogs. Our nutritious food is made with high-quality, natural ingredients to help dogs live full and active lives. Let's grow healthy dogs.
RC Willey has top brand appliances, plus free removal of your old appliance.
Craving Rock My World bold flavors only Taco Time can deliver? Congratulations! Crushing your craving just got easier. Taco Time, online and on demand. Dream delivered. You're welcome. When you know what you want, anytime.
Closed captioning is provided by
Dupixent helps you do more with less asthma and can help you breathe better in as little as 2 weeks. Dupixent is an add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma that's not for sudden breathing problems. Dupixent can cause allergic reactions that can be severe. Get help right away if you have rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, tingling or numbness in your limbs. Tell your doctor about new or worsening joint aches and pain or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines, including steroids, without talking to your doctor. Ask your specialist about Dupixent.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Christina Wall says Kayla Franks owes for babysitting fees.
Now, did she pay you every 2 weeks?
No.
Did she give you any money?
No.
No, of course she didn't, because if she had given you any money, that would have been in her answer. I did, in fact, pay her. In your answer, you say she didn't get paid because she didn't take a CPR class, which she was required to take in order to get paid by the state. That's what you put in your answer. You want to see it?
That is correct.
You want to see it?
No, I already saw it.
Okay, so I don't believe that you paid her anything unless you have some proof for me that you gave her money by way of a check, because you got paid by check, right?
I did.
Right. So you have no proof that you gave her any money.
Oh, can I explain something real quick to you?
You can tell me whether you have proof that you gave her any money.
Every time I gave her money, we would put in a notebook that she kept with her, and she would sign it and I would sign it, stating that I paid her.
Well, then you should have the same kind of notebook. Paid Miss Wall for 60 hours of babysitting. She was your babysitter.
Yes.
I don't believe you, Miss Franks. I don't believe that you paid her any money. No. Are you still working for Subway?
No, I actually just started a new job on Monday.
What happened to your job at Subway?
I moved to St. Cloud. And
so you left the job. Just a minute. When did you move?
I moved April of this year.
What were you doing in October of this year?
I was still working.
November?
Working.
For Subway?
Yep.
Yep is not an answer.
Yes,
is the answer. And who was taking care of your children?
My mom started doing daycare for me.
And your mom's getting paid by the state?
Nope, I was paying her as well.
Nope is not an answer.
Sorry.
No.
No, ma'am.
No.
I pay her out of my checks.
You do?
Yes, I do.
That's wonderful. How much do you pay her out of your checks?
She charges $250 every 2 weeks.
Then my question is, why didn't you pay Miss Wall, is the question.
I did pay her. The deal was I would give her money, and she was supposed to do 2 classes to get the daycare assistance that she refused to do. So I did give her cash along with groceries and everything else in order for her to take care of my kids.
Now, you pay your mother $250 every 2 weeks, or $125 a week, correct?
Yes.
Because you think that that's what it's worth for your mother to take care of your children?
No, ma'am. The deal with my mom was she wanted $250 every 2 weeks to watch them because she felt that with me being a single mom, that it would help me out.
Great, and you pay her?
Yep.
That's what you're going to pay
Yes,
Miss
ma'am.
Wall. That's a reasonable figure.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Miss Verbish co-signed your bail.
Yes.
And were you arrested subsequently for additional sale of drugs after that arrest?
Yes.
That would be a yes.
I think so.
When moderate to severe ulcerative colitis keeps flaring, put it in check with Rinvoq, a once-daily pill.
When UC got unpredictable, I got rapid symptom relief with Rinvoq and left bathroom urgency behind. Check.
When UC got in my way, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when my gastro saw damage,
Rinvoq helped visibly repair the colon lining. Check. Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and a chance to visibly repair the colon lining. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers, including lymphoma and skin cancer, death, heart attack, stroke, and tears in the stomach or intestines occurred. People 50 and older with at least one heart disease risk factor have higher risks. Don't take if allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Put UC in check and keep it there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastro about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Max Roth here today at 4, a moment in history as former President Donald Trump is arraigned on federal charges. What happened inside the federal courtroom in Miami and what happened outside, and how did Trump plea? And once again, Utah's weather authority is tracking chances for storms, where you could see rain, and will this unsettled weather pattern last through Father's Day weekend?
I remember when you get a whole meal for $5.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
Oh.
And every Tuesday at A&W, where single Papa Burger combos complete with fries and a root beer cost just $5. The good old days are here again. A complete meal for just $5. Tuesdays only at A&W.
America's favorite strawberry yogurt.
For your favorite kid.
For my favorite daughter.
Real creamy, real fruit, real smooth. No wonder America loves it. Yoplait.
Happy Take and Bake Tuesday!
Every Tuesday at Papa Murphy's, you can get any large pizza for just $12, which makes Tuesday the best day to bring home all your favorites.
We might have too many favorites.
Order now at papamurphys.com.
Hanson's knows that your home is a place of comfort and protection. That's why our durable, energy-efficient, and weather-resistant windows, roofing, siding, and gutters, as well as our tubs and showers, are guaranteed for life. With over 30 years' experience and thousands of 5-star reviews, we're your trusted home improvement expert. Enjoy no interest and no payments for 2 years, or get 40% off installation. Call 1-800-HANSONS. Get it done.
Ram season is here with the right trucks. For every purpose, every path, and every soul. Now's the season to be a Ram.
Right now during Ram season, get 10% below MSRP or 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
KFC's Wednesday Country Fried Steak Meal is a delicious value, complete with mashed potatoes with gravy, coleslaw, and a biscuit, all for the incredible price of just $5.99. Really, what's left to say? How about see you again next Wednesday? Country Fried Steak Meal, just $5.99, only at KFC.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Christina Wall says Kayla Franks owes for babysitting fees.
Now, the first month I read your complaint. You didn't have a fixed amount that the defendant would pay you. But you did work for her.
Yes.
And you have to be compensated for that work. If you met and you were friends, you're at least as friendly as her own mother, who was charging her $250 every 2 weeks to babysit for her own grandchildren. I've used that as a yardstick to try to define what would be a fair rate of pay. The month of August, she only worked part-time. So the month of August, I have allotted you $250 for the month of August. Month of September, she worked full-time, and I've allotted you $500 for the month of September. And you did work another week in the month of October before she moved. I'm allotting you another $100, which is $850 for the babysitting services. Is that reasonable?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. That's judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
Are you excused? You may step out.
I had enough while I was still babysitting, and
She's cheating the system and trying to get everything she can out of it.
wouldn't pay me, and every time I would talk to her about it, she would just
Because I did pay her in cash.
get more and more angry and more standoffish.
She got paid every 2 weeks.
Oh, we are not friends anymore.
It's over. It's done. I don't want to be around her.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Verbish versus Benzon. Step forward.
23-year-old Cheyenne Verbish is suing her former friend, Jenny Benzon, for a loan for bail after Jenny was arrested for selling drugs.
Ms. Benson, you and the plaintiff were friends when you were younger, at least. Haven't been friends recently, but at some point in the past, you were arrested.
Yes.
Were you arrested more than once?
Yes.
The arrest that required a co-signatory for your bail, when was that?
In the beginning of February 2013.
And what was that arrest for?
Sales of drugs. Drug sales.
Was that case resolved?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Was that case resolved with a dismissal, a plea, or a trial?
Well, I took it to trial, but I ended up taking a plea and going to rehab.
Cover
and
other cases?
Yes.
Did you serve any jail time?
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by
Head & Shoulders is launching something huge. The bare minimum. Anti-dandruff shampoo made with only 9 ingredients, no sulfate, silicones, or dyes, and packaged with 45% less plastic, giving you outstanding dandruff protection and leaving hair beautiful and moisturized. Major dandruff protection, minimal ingredients. Job done. New Head & Shoulders Bare.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too. Jardiance may cause serious side effects, including ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. And don't take it if you're on dialysis. Taking Jardiance with the sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with the big story to tell.
At Smith's, we want our fresh produce to meet your expectations, which is why we do up to a 27-point inspection to check for things like color and scarring. Because when it comes to fresh, higher standards mean fresher produce. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
Got that insurance claim check for you.
I gotta call Swap. We'll make sure you get the help you deserve, and we only get paid after you win.
One call,